Welcome everyone to episode number 20 of ARCS Behind the Driver. Tonight we have Carmen Sienna in the studio with us. So y'all stay tuned. We'll have episode 20 starting here in just a few moments.
Welcome to ARCS Behind the Driver podcast.
Live here with episode 20, we have Carmen Sienna in the booth, or not the booth, the broadcast. Jesus Christ.
I'm normally in the booth.
That's
You're not
normally
wrong.
that's normally how I know you. So in the studio here tonight for episode 20. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'm still recovering from 12 and a half hours of being stuck in Indianapolis, but, we're recovering.
That sounds like a good problem to have.
It was a lot of fun. It was my first time being at the Brickyard in 5 years. Before the pandemic, 2019 was the last time I had been. So it was nice being able to get back. I met people from ABN, met Tommy Reynolds, had a chance to meet with him, met other people from ABN. Um, a lot of fun. 350,000 people were there, and next to nobody left, despite the rainstorm and everything. And we were near the steak pit, so it was a wild trip from start to finish. But there's nothing like it. Obviously, Memorial Day weekend was just wild all around, but now I get to worry about going to Milwaukee, going to Nashville. Got a couple more of those trips planned for IndyCar races. Got to figure out a NASCAR race to go to since they won't ever come back to Kentucky.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a lot of fun, just kind of getting out and continuing to kind of find normalcy and everything. It's one of those things, like, it seems like the world's moving faster than it was beforehand, and just still trying to play catch up with all that stuff. So, arguably, probably the best year I've had so far, and that's saying something. So, and I get to be up until like 4 a.m. doing the iRacing Indy 500 because mine starts at 1. So,
Oh man.
I'm gonna be up for a while.
Well, yeah, sounds like a long night for sure. All right, well, we'll start it off. I kind of give the floor to you. Obviously, a lot of people know who you are, but some may not. So just tell them kind of who you are and a little bit about yourself.
So, for those that don't know me, I'm Carmen Sienna. I run ABN Studios, ABN Esports, ABN Creative. It's a giant group at this point. I've done so since November 16th, 2020, but I've been in commentary, I've been in content creation since 2013. I started out doing radio commentary for my local high school. We were doing high school radio broadcasts for the varsity football team and for our soccer team. So I got started doing radio and kind of just moved after high school into doing YouTube content. For the last 9 years now, I've been doing continuous work with the NASCAR Racing 2003 community, basically running what we call Racing D&D, because we create characters, we watch them race, and we sort of just walk through a world built around them. That's how everything started for me. That's kind of ABN's sort of origin story there. 2020 pandemic kind of kicks in. Why not start live streaming? Because I hadn't done that yet. That was the one thing I hadn't stepped into. Really big IndyCar fan, so that was sort of the first thing I kind of stepped into, and it quickly kind of just took off. And, we have our 5-year anniversary this November. Didn't think we'd be at this point where we have almost 1,300 followers on one channel, almost 300 on another. Twitter following, Instagram following. Didn't think I'd get there at this point. Went from being just me to now we have 15 different employees. So we're fully in small business mode. But I love racing. I've broadcast dirt races. I've broadcast, obviously, open wheel races is kind of my home. I've been doing stuff for ARCS now for 3 years. So I've been at it for a little bit. And it's just been a lot of fun just continuing to grow, because for me, this has very much been, it started as a distraction, sort of like, hey, let's entertain people through something that we have similar interest in, like racing, even though ABN wasn't meant to be racing initially. But unite people with the same sort of love and the same passion for not only the hobby of sim racing, but for racing as a whole. And seeing everyone unite around that the way they have over the past 4.5 years, despite all the changes in and outside of our hobby and outside of our communities, it's been very, very special. And to see the support we have, week in, week out, we're broadcasting 6, sometimes 7 nights a week. Everyone still shows up, and it's always been a blast. So that's me in a nutshell. As I sort of opened up, I'm an IndyCar fan through and through. First race I ever watched was an IndyCar race, was the 2003 Indy 500. That's sort of just my nature. I live in the Midwest. I was born in Kentucky, live in Ohio. IndyCar is stronger up here than what it is, down south. It's stronger. IndyCar is stronger here than NASCAR is. But that's my little slice of the world. So it's fun being able to kind of share that and kind of be able to draw from my experiences there to illustrate to everyone that watches an ABN sort of just what goes on in our slice of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I've kind of been trying to, you know, race those cars a little more on iRacing, and I've been watching them a little bit more. They're racing in Detroit this weekend, and I had no idea. Like, I wasn't even paying attention. I literally live probably 20-25 minutes from Detroit. I was like, I cannot believe I didn't plan to try and go watch them. Like,
It's okay, because if you looked at IndyCar social media, no one else would have known it either. Everyone was so encaptured by Indy that everyone forgot. Oh yeah, but it's back-to-back races all the way until like August,
yeah,
and they didn't talk about it at all. So because you have Detroit this week and then Road America next week,
yeah.
back-to-back bangers,
Mm-hmm.
and they just didn't. Up until yesterday, they had not posted any social media about Detroit at all. I was
Yeah,
like,
I literally, I think I saw it on, honestly, I think I saw a video on TikTok before I did anything else of like one of the cars going around the track during practice, and I'm like, holy shit, I forgot they're fucking racing in Detroit this
and
this
it's
weekend.
downtown Detroit too.
Oh
Like it's
yeah,
not like Belle Isle Detroit. It's
yeah,
downtown Detroit.
yeah, it's wild.
Um, and that's the thing that sort of amazes me. You go from the fastest race on the planet, 240 miles an hour at Indy, and now you take them to one of the bumpiest, roughest racetracks and one of the
Yeah,
bumpiest, roughest places to be, downtown Detroit, right across Chevrolet's front office.
yeah,
And then you take them to Road America, a place that literally just got repaved.
yeah,
They're going to be blisteringly quick this year. That's part of what I'm so drawn in by IndyCar. You know, it wasn't too long ago we were racing over railroad tracks and literally going airborne, you know, in these cars. And
yep,
now, you know, we're racing in scenic areas, we're racing over the world. They added more ovals, thankfully, finally.
yeah,
Um, it is it is arguably the most diverse calendar on the planet, because you're not going to have, like, I can imagine the NASCAR Cup cars, if they tried to race tracks like Baltimore or Detroit, they wouldn't make it very far.
mm-mm.
Um, like, it's a rough time. And we've seen how flimsy those shocks are in the NASCAR Cup car anyway. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun to follow. And it's cool seeing a lot of people that have been around my circle. I mean, obviously they know I've been an IndyCar fan a lot. It's been a running joke. But to see people, Seth's been in my inbox almost daily talking about it. Like, you know, who do I follow? Sort of what's going on here? What is this? Um, and that's fun because I get to I kind of like what I did in the broadcast for so long, just kind of share the passion, kind of explain things. Because it is genuinely one of the most exciting things to watch. It's what Formula One wishes it had the racing of.
Mm-hmm.
And the passion, like, I've always said this: F1 is for the pageantry, NASCAR's for the money, because NASCAR makes a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
IndyCar's if you just love it. Like, IndyCar's the passion, just straight. Like, you don't make a lot of money outside of Indy, you won't. But you're gonna have 25, 27, 28 drivers that just love what they do. Um, and that's been no more true than what we've seen this year already, with the passion we've seen already this year. It's been it's drama you couldn't really write if you wanted to. And now it's with Kyle Larson's thing going on. Now NASCAR sort of repped into it too. We could have 4 drivers doing the double next year because Joseph Newgarden said he wants to do the double now.
Blaney, maybe.
Blaney wants to. McLaughlin wants to.
Yep.
And that's a fun little science to get into. Why those drivers particularly want to jump in and do the double is very interesting.
Yeah, it is. I would love to see Ryan Blaney do the double, but obviously Kyle Larson's attempt, not the best. He kind of was screwed by Mother Nature twice in the same day, so that was not good.
And unfortunately that happens. Like, and that's why you see like a lot of drivers that have done the double have done it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the drivers that have done the double, John Andretti, Tony Stewart, Robbie Gordon, Kurt Busch is the only one that's been successful that's only done it once.
Yeah.
But Kurt Busch is already up there in age. Like, he was already mid-30s when he tried it.
Mm-hmm.
Larson is 31. Larson's older than Newgarden and McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Didn't know that until Sunday, but he is. They both can do it multiple times and have that. And Larson's got a deal where he's going to have another chance next year.
Yeah.
So, like, the door's open now. If we have 4 drivers to follow across 2 or 3 different teams, because I don't think unless Penske downscales and kicks Austin Cindric, they're not going to have both Newgarden and McLaughlin do it. That's very interesting. I think the door is wide open now, and that's so cool to see. And it really, as we saw the media and everything, it benefited both NASCAR and IndyCar. I don't think there was any more eyes. I don't think you could put any more eyes on Indy or Charlotte than what was already on there. Indy saw a 10% increase in viewership, and we were out in the rain and thunderstorms for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
It got delayed by like 4 hours, and you still had that many people watching and that many people at the track. I mean, that's pretty crazy for an IndyCar race.
Because I was in the infield for Indy, so I saw all of it. You could not look around the grandstands and find an empty seat after the rain delay. It was very interesting seeing how much traffic was there. And as soon as Joseph won, I was out. I booked it to the exit. I was gone because I had to walk a mile to get to my car anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the amount of people that were to see the people there, absolutely magnificent. 7 million people. After Kyle Larson got a speeding penalty, more people tuned in afterwards.
Yeah.
Almost 7 million people tuned in after Larson was out of the race, just to watch what happens. And then I haven't seen the Coke 600 viewership left, but I'm sure that number was pretty big with everything going on there. So
yeah, it was. I mean, I still really don't understand the call to end the race. I
know everyone's like, hey, let's get rid of Fox. Just because Fox is diminishing their races for NASCAR, I don't want IndyCar to go.
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
Don't move from NBC to Fox. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Don't want to do that.
But I listened to,
because it was purely Fox.
Yeah, I listened to several of like the Dale Jr. like Dirty Mo podcasts throughout the week when I'm at work, and like there were a lot of people that were like, why in the hell did they call that race when they did? Because there was a lot of people that said literally like 30-40 minutes after they called the race, even with them not using the Air Titans, that the track was almost completely dry. So it was like, man, like y'all missed an opportunity. Like it was set up to be this magical thing where like Kyle Larson had landed. He was at his race car. It rained. Perfect. Okay, he's ready. He's going to get in the car. 150 laps left. And then it's just like, nope, it's too wet. It's too humid is what Fox said that they said. But
and they've been lampooned on that since. The thing that's really interesting is how Larson, because of Fox intervening and saying, no, Larson now is in question of not having a waiver.
Yeah.
To be eligible for the championship, being third in points after missing a race, and he could win the regular season championship and still miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't see that.
That's insane.
I don't see that happening, but I mean, I guess it could. Like you know,
NASCAR's petty enough, and we can kind of talk about NASCAR and IndyCar as much as they were hand in hand for Memorial Day. It is 100% a back and forth between IndyCar and NASCAR now.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting the politics behind that. So I'm very curious. I think I would not be surprised if they're waiting to see if Larson wins again before they say anything. Because if he doesn't win again, you're like, okay, well, you've got to win another race.
Mm-hmm.
If he wins like 4 or 5, now that he's now that Larson's mad.
Yeah.
Good luck, Field. Have fun.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, Justin Allgaier was what 13th when it started raining.
He set that car up perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you think Justin Allgaier, again, a talented race car driver, but
he's not Larson.
Yeah, and he's in a next gen car for the probably the first time, in a competitive field, and he's up there running 13th. And it's like, and he even said it on the radio. He was like, when Kyle gets in this car, he's going to the front. Like, this thing is moving. And, he was just playing it safe because obviously he had to make sure that he didn't wreck the race car. So it's like, man, what if? Just the what ifs of if that race went back green. Yeah, we'd be up till 2 a.m., but who cares? It's Memorial
That'd be
Day.
a showcase.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has to work the next day, or most people don't. I mean, I get some people have to, but I don't know. That just seemed like an opportunity kind of wasted. But that's why I don't work for NASCAR. I don't want to make those calls.
Well, I don't know. It's funny. Like, I think a lot of people are kind of in agreement that I don't think NASCAR made that call. There was a lot riding on that night, going better. But that's, I mean, we'll see how the fall is going to be far and wide. It's gonna be a race that we talk about all year long. So still mission accomplished there.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, that's part of the magic of motorsports. We got to see something that we hadn't seen in a decade be attempted. So
yeah. I mean, I was all for it. I loved it. I mean, I was rooting on Kyle Larson. I think most all NASCAR fans were, and like you said, it got NASCAR fans to watch IndyCar who maybe haven't ever watched IndyCar before, and hopefully they watched it and was like, wow, this is really fucking badass. Like, I might watch this more. Like, it kind of helped get some new fans in the door, I think.
Yeah, and again, it's a two-way street, and when you have something like this happen, racing wins in our situation, because like we spend so much time talking, especially like the last, just since I've had ABN. Oh, racing numbers, the racing viewership numbers are going down and going down and going down. This is a good opportunity to sort of make some opportunity, like, okay, let's bring back the era of drivers just racing everything, Oh, V8 supercars, okay, come over to the United States. We got, V8 NASCAR, we got Trans Am, we got IndyCar. We have sports cars here. We have GTP. We are the birthplace of GTP. The golden age, the new golden age of sports cars begins here. Begins with Daytona. That's something that's very special. So I'm excited. Like, obviously, the last time we saw this, I wasn't even born yet. This was back in the '80s. So I get to experience this in real time, and so does everyone else. And that's I mean, publicity talks. It's going to be publicity. Yeah. So I'm excited. IndyCar is at Detroit. NASCAR is at Gateway, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, they're at Gateway.
Yep, you're correct.
And Gateway is another track that's shared by NASCAR and IndyCar. We get to see IndyCar there next month or in August. So we get to see a lot more of the cross, promotion between the two. So, like a hater, we're not going away. So
yeah. All right. Well, I want to go back to talking about ABN and the broadcasting and stuff like that, and the growth that y'all have seen. I mean, honestly, just in the past couple of years. I mean, you kind of spoke about it a little bit, but is that something that you ever envisioned that would happen? I mean, y'all are calling some big time series, and luckily I've been able to be privileged to join y'all and help y'all on Tuesdays, and I mean, I've been having so much fun. But yeah, I mean, what I guess just like, how did it happen, or did it just happen? I mean, I know obviously a lot of work went into it because I know behind the scenes, but just walk us through how it happened, and did you expect it to happen so quickly?
So to kind of walk through it, ABN had existed in some different forms for a while. We were known as CRC for a little bit when we were on like Gran Turismo. We were doing online stuff in Gran Turismo. And it hadn't really kind of taken shape as it is now until I got to iRacing in 2019, and kind of started finding my foot, figuring out, what made sense. I joined iRacing just for the IndyCar, at norm as you'd expect. But it quickly became like a lot more. I started doing sports cars. Did my first Daytona 24. Did my first Daytona 500 in 2020, and then the world shuts down. So like most people, like a lot of people from ARCS were at the time, like everyone over in my communities were at the time, we kind of just didn't have a lot to do. And at that point, I had 7 years of experience as a commentator and a content producer. Okay, well, why not just stream this stuff? I'll just stream this stuff for fun. ABN didn't have a channel at that point. It was just my personal channel that I was doing it through. And so it kind of just started there. And the first races we did were IndyCar races. We didn't have that many people racing because, IndyCar hadn't gone through that boom yet. It took a year for it to really kind of hit IndyCar. But we did a couple broadcasts at Long Beach, Laguna Seca, Texas, so on and so forth. And then more and more leagues started reaching out for broadcasts. So we started doing stuff. That was when, I think it was right after the next gen car came out, when we started doing like actual, like, we're coming in, we're being paid to broadcast. And for the first couple of years, it was just me. Like, I think it was up until ABN and ARCS did Champ Car for the first time that I even had someone in the booth with me, and that's when we got Kevin Young, and he's been with us ever since. But for a long period of time, it was just me. So, I mean, when I started it was like, okay, this is for fun. If it takes off, cool. But it was largely just for fun and sort of just bringing the community together for a night or two a week. It wasn't until 2022, so a couple years in, when we started getting to close. We started breaking milestone after milestone after milestone. Starting getting like, we were starting averaging like over 20 plus viewers a race. We broke 500 followers and started getting subscribers on Twitch. And it was like, oh, there's momentum here. And then we did a charity race, our first ever charity race that year for ABN's 3rd birthday. And that went off brilliantly. And that was sort of like the eureka moment of, okay, now ABN could be something bigger. And so now, and that, then it kind of just expands, like, okay, we got a bunch of interest, we have a bunch of projects, now I need to find a bunch of people. And that's been the never-ending hunt ever since. Because, one series drops off for an off season, we need to fill that gap somehow, some way. Insert another series to cover off that off space, because it's the content machine that we're fully in now, where there always has to be something going on.
Yeah, I mean,
every holiday weekend was rough.
Every new series that you get, I mean, that could be 30, 40 new followers, 30, 40 new people watching. I mean, that's super important.
But there's a balance to that, because like, I used to think that way, like, okay, we'll just grab as many different communities as possible.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore. And we try to, and we've had communities come and go for different reasons. The communities we have now, we have Winstel, which has been very important to us. Our exposure to professional eNASCAR drivers, past and present. Platinum Endurance Championship, which gives us a lot of our only exposure to Europe. That's been huge. And then we have, two of our longer term partnerships with HGL, which we developed. We actually have our 2-year anniversary in August. And then with ARCS, which is our longest going partnership at the moment. Next year will be 4 years. It became less about, okay, let's just sign all these new different communities, all these new partners, and let's grow with the partners that we want to have, the partners that make sense, and like actually spread out with them and grow with them. So there was a bit of a pause and sort of a course correction as far as like the business we wanted to do. Because you look at, with ARCS, we broadcast SNS and we broadcast A Squared. There's another couple series, not going to say too often much yet, that want to be on ABN later this year or next year. And it's about, finding the time, finding the space, and making sure that it makes sense. Same thing with HTL. We have HTL Cup on Monday, HTL Trucks on Tuesday, HTL Champ Car Lights is the newest part of our partnership. That's on Thursdays. That's a partnership that, has been big for us because, again, it's been so beneficial, just not only between ABN and HTL, but, we've seen the crossover into ARCS. We've had drivers come over into ARCS, Emma Kruger, Lily Pelletier Sharp, Gearcats, that team. Drivers have come in and raced in SNS. John Hagan came over from HTL. So there's a lot of, some success with drivers jumping in between communities. And that's something we wanted to do. And that requires us to sort of figure out, okay, what communities make sense that we can feel comfortable doing this.
Yep.
So that's a lot of it's changed, but a lot of it has become like, okay, now it's not just let's just do something to do it. Now it's let's do something because it makes sense and it's going to make ABN and all the rest of the community that's now 3,000 people large better. It's become a lot more serious. ABN's launching its Patreon next week, just sort of to create more funding to be able to help these new projects to kind of get off the ground. Obviously you've got a podcast. There's a lot of different ideas for a podcast for ABN that I've got to figure out and proofread through before I even do anything with that. There's new series that want to get off the ground. Not only people coming in and wanting to do broadcasts or wanting to be broadcasted on ABN, but different series that people want to run with ABN that require funding.
Yep.
So it 100% has become its own little business. But to see the love and support we've seen all this time, and to see it just continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, is not something I imagined. But now that it's something that's here and it's something that's tangible and it's physical and it's present, strap a rocket to it and let it fly. It's sort of just become the mantra to it, and I get to guide the ship and hopefully not crash out in the process. So that's been the fun little challenge. But we have the summer right now is a little bit of a lull, some off seasons going on.
Yeah, summer's always tough. I mean, weather gets nice, you want to go outside,
go on vacation.
Exactly. Summer's always a little tough for racing. We always struggle with it too in ARCS. It's just
and that's the big thing too. Like we used to be, I remember not too long ago, ARCS would go from like 32, 34 drivers to down to like 22, 24 or something like that. I believe there's a couple races like New Hampshire that no one likes that it dropped to like 17.
Yeah.
ARCS and HTL both are pulling 35 plus almost consistently every week. Like we pulled 38 in HTL for Sonoma, and that's a race I absolutely hate. I don't know why I lobbied for it to be on the calendar. Sorry, Blake, on that one. But we pulled 38 there. I know ARCS has consistently pulled 30 plus. I think every race. It seems like every time I have a chance to look, there's like 32 at least. And that's cool. And Winslow does the same thing. The lowest field's 33. So rising tide lifts all boats there. So and that's the cool part. That's like when we talk about expanding further. That's the goal, is to make sure that the series is better after we join than it is before. And there's a lot of different things to that. There's a lot of different personalities and styles and everything that kind of comes to that, and they all kind of have to compromise a little bit. But that's part of the fun part of the process for me, because now we get to be semantic. Now we kind of get to talk about the details and the behind the scenes stuff, because that's where most of the work is. Like the streams that we do, throughout the week, they're the tip of the iceberg, and they're the product that we've worked to put on. But there's so much more that goes into it, and we have new overlays coming in July. Yep. That are going to be huge for ABN. And that's just another thing. We're constantly improving. And now we're at that point now where we have to constantly improve. This is one of those things where in order to keep that climb going, that's going to be the chase that we're going to be on forever until we either decide, it's time and I'm done with all the gray hair, or we've won somehow and we've just been the last
Yeah,
one standing. So figure out which one's going to come first.
for sure. Well, I was, I know I've mentioned this to you, but for everybody watching, the first night that I was in the HCL, it was at Daytona. It was their season opener. This is I've broadcasted obviously on ARCS Racing Networks for the past 3 or 4 years. I've worked with Rick James on Thursday nights before. So I do have a little bit of background, but this was kind of my first real, like, okay, your job is just to broadcast, call the race, be there, support Eli. And oh my goodness, at Daytona I was so nervous. I literally, like, before the race I was like, oh my god, I may have to go puke in the bathroom. Like, I'm nervous as hell. Like, I mean, it was just but it was so much fun. And it was having a producer, like, that's something that I've never done before. Like, I've never had a producer, like, talking in your ear while you're, I'm listening to Eli talk, but I also got a producer telling me something. And it's like, damn, this isn't as easy as as they made it look, when I was watching these streams. And now I'm in here, behind the scenes, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome, but it's also very scary. But yeah, I mean, it was just, the professionalism is just to the top. I mean, it's just so cool to be a part of. So shout out to you and everybody at ABN for just being, professional. And I mean, that's something that I lack, because, when I'm doing my streams, I got like 5 or 6 people watching. It's usually on a Friday night, so people are out, at the bar or hanging out with family. They're not watching me, so, I'm just kind of having fun. But Tuesdays, I'm zoned in. I'm looking at, like, points. I'm looking at stats. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. I mean, it's so much fun. I love it.
And this, obviously, like, not every ABN broadcast is like that. Like, I'm very fortunate that we have that set up for several nights of the week, because that's ABN's, like, gold standard. And that's ultimately the goal across the board, is to get every series we have like that, to have that kind of consistency. But again, that requires a lot of manpower and a lot more funding. So that's difficult. But no, that's something that took time to create. And we have a lot of incredible producers. Obviously, Christina, who was the first producer that wasn't me on board. Amity, who produces for Tuesday nights. She's obviously really good. She used to do a lot of Formula Drift stuff, so she's been in the game for a little bit. I'm teaching, and Kevin had to do some of the basic stuff, sort of getting him up into the ranks there. So it's that's the gold standard, and I always say it, and people don't believe me, that commentating on a race, like, with sincerity, is harder than racing.
Mm-hmm.
It genuinely is, because when you're racing, you focus on what's going on around you. You process information, right, as it's being fed to you. Like, especially if you're, like, on a plate race, like, your head's on a swivel. You have to have eyes. Literally, you're going to be a chameleon by the end of it. Your eyes are going to be everywhere, because you've got to focus on what you're watching. You've got to be able to call back. Okay, like, for Tuesday nights, like, okay, Josh Susi, we know he's in Cup. What is he doing in trucks? Is there any comparison there?
Yep.
And you've also got to listen. You've got one voice in this year, one voice in the other. And it is genuinely, especially if, like, for your first time, you talk about your first time was Daytona, that's always the hardest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Because it's already hard as it is doing Daytona. Like, it's already extremely difficult as it is. Now you've got to do it with, obviously, with you and Eli had not worked together before, hadn't hardly talked to
Nope.
before. With a producer you had not met before.
Correct.
We kind of walked through. We had a half-hour production meeting, and I was there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be in the car enjoying my night to just not worry about this. Good luck, all three of y'all. I will see you on the other side. But realistically speaking, the reviews that you and Eli and Amity have gotten on Tuesday nights have been fantastic, and that kind of shows the confidence that you and Eli have been able to develop, and just the camaraderie that team has been able to put together is really big, and that's important, right? Because like you take that, you compare Tuesday to Friday nights when it's just kind of you and you're broadcasting like ARX, or you're broadcasting an Xfinity series.
Yep.
It's a completely different experience, and there's like being able to experience the full thing. Like, so obviously you're just doing it on your own. Doing an SNS broadcast where like it's me having to do all that stuff is an interesting one as well.
Yeah.
Because I have to somehow balance all of that and be my own producer and try to keep track. That's an added challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then also have to feed it off to a co-commentator is also interesting. That it's legitimately, it is way more difficult than being a driver. I would much rather do. And remember, we had the 24-hour broadcast at Le Mans.
Yeah,
I
I was a part of that too. That was fun.
It was. I mean, it's fun. Never doing that again. Never doing that again.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was logistically a nightmare. But that's kind of the stuff we do. And you know, and you see why it's so hard for some drivers to step from the car to the booth. You know, not every driver is going to be, you know, like Dale Jr. I think got used to it really well. Harvick I know is really good. McMurray's really good. I think everyone can kind of agree Clint Boyer's not very good. But there's a reason for that, because it's a completely different challenge, completely different demand to anything you're used to, and it's again, and it helps that I started out with commentating before I was doing sim racing, so like I know that a little bit better. Obviously, my stats don't speak well for me on the racing side.
Me either.
But you've got more wins than I do, so I'll let you have that one. But that's the fun little and I think that's something that it's fun seeing you and Eli approach that, because you all are coming in as drivers first and kind of stepping into something brand new, and you all are hitting the ground and you're running with it, and that's really cool because not everyone can get that. And both of you are relying on each other. You're kind of leaning on each other, leaning on Amity, who's able to kind of be that support rock there.
Yep.
And you're doing a phenomenal job with that. And that's part of what ABN's goal kind of has become, you know, especially the last year, is giving people the ability to kind of step into the booth that wouldn't have had the opportunity to. You know, just looking this year alone, ABN, you know, for Champ Car, we had Olivia Hayward and Taylor Mills, who had not been in a broadcast booth for one of them ever.
Yeah.
You and Eli had not been in a broadcast booth of this quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever.
Yeah.
Eli hadn't done it ever. You had been used to kind of doing it on your own and kind of just flying solo, so you had a completely different experience. You know, and now we have Joe Cortez for Sunday and Mondays, who's a former Coke Series commentator, so we have complete different ends of the spectrum.
Yep.
But we're giving people the ability to jump in and learn that, and that's become a new little fun part of my job, is finding people that want to learn, whether it's to be a producer like what I do, or like Christina Ryan does, or like Amity does, or to just learn how to commentate, whether it's be a lead or a color commentator like where you are on Tuesdays. Like, it's fun being able to do that, because the universal thing, and there's the universal reason why I kind of picked the crews I did, is charisma. You have to have charisma. Like, you have to be able to talk. I've seen you talk. There's been a lot of late night conversations where like you just talk and talk and talk.
Yep.
You have the charisma and you have the knowledge and you have the experience of knowing like what you're talking about. Like you've raced the trucks before. You've won in the trucks before.
Yep.
Perfect fit right there. And you have the charisma to be a color commentator. You may not have the eloquence to be a lead commentator like what Eli is.
Yeah.
But you have the ability to accentuate and fill a role that makes the booth better.
Yep.
And that's the kind of the fun part of my job now, is like I'm kind of stepping out of the broadcast role in a lot of different series to sort of focus on managing things. That's one of the cool fun things that I've started to manage now is, okay, so and so wants to do commentary. I know what they can do. Who can I put them with to make this work? What series can I put them in to make this work? Can I find the right role?
Yep.
And so far, we've hit the ground running, and I'm sure that we're going to have more of that in the future, because I know that there's some people that are about to become available in the summer. Obviously, we're on time because I think SNS season 8 starts in August, and Champ Car season 6 starts in July. HTL Champ Car Lights is in July. Hyper Formula for ABNs on Saturdays in June. There's a lot of stuff still coming up, so there's a lot of opportunities. But seeing what you've been able to do on Tuesdays, seeing what Eli's been able to do on Tuesdays, and just seeing you all grow, you all have done a fantastic job so far. And right now, the sky's still the limit as far as like how far, like as long as ABN continues to grow, both of you are going to continue to have a place to grow as well. And that's the cool part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I've had a blast, and I think 2 different times told the ARCS community that I'm ready to retire, and I still won't do it. But I really think probably at the end of this year, I'm not going to fully retire, but you will probably not see me as much in a race car. You'll see me more in the booth, whether that be, with ABN or with ARCS Racing Networks, doing some stuff. I mean, I just enjoy it so much. Like I do get nervous, of course, because like you don't want to be the person that screws up or says something stupid, but at the
You
same
want to be
time,
an Alan Bestwick, not a Mario Reed.
yeah, like, but it's still just so much fun. I mean, and me and Eli that's something that we have really grown from Daytona to now on when we know, like I know, like okay, I'm not gonna talk now because I know that Eli's gonna be talking, because that's one thing that like I know I've watched some streams of other broadcasts of other people, other companies out there, and it's like, man, all they're doing is just talking over each other, like, and that is so annoying to me because it's like I can't hear either one of y'all because y'all are both talking at the same time. And I feel like me and Eli at Daytona, we had a couple times where we kind of stepped on each other's toes a little bit, but we've gotten really good at that flow between me and him. And, sometimes like if somebody's wrecking, I might say like, hey, somebody's wrecking, out of 4. And, Eli will be like, oh yeah. And I kind of just let him take it. But that flow that we've developed over, these past several weeks, I mean, it's been a blast because, like I said, I mean, I know when he's talking, he knows when I'm talking, and we just really work well together. And then to have a producer in your ear, telling you, hey, all right, we're going to go to replay. And I know, like, all right, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let Eli take the replay. I mean, it's worked really well, and I've had a damn blast all year for sure.
And that's you bring up a really good point. When you have like a group that's kind of just like talking over each other, like they're not really kind of taking it serious, and that's something that ABN was kind of built on, was kind of taking it serious. I used to be able, for a year and a half, I raced. I had a chance to race. I raced go-karts, and then I got hurt, and that went away. So for a little bit of time, I had the dream in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, what we do, sim racing, is the closest people are going to get to that dream. You
Yep.
don't have stories like William Byron all over the place. They just don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of I carry a lot of respect. Like, we're here because we love it, but we're also here because we're competitive. And at one point, whether it still is or it was, this is a dream. Like the idea of potential of having the ability to do this in real life has always been the dream. So there's a bit of respect to that, and there's a little bit behind the professionalism, is that we have a bunch of drivers that show so much passion and so much dedication to this. They deserve that respect. So we want to make sure that we deliver on that.
Yep.
Now, is it a bit campy at times? It can be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's the thing. Like, we want drivers, no matter what community it is, whether it's the Power Endurance Championship on Saturdays, or Winstel, or HTL, or ARCS, or even just ABN. we want the drivers in the fans, everyone watching, all together be like, okay, this means something. Like, this isn't just, I'm just here to, dick around and have fun. This means something. Like, there's importance to it. And that's been an important facet for me as far as leading ABN is, like, this means something to a lot of people. Like, people get heated. Obviously, we know how heated people can get.
Oh yeah.
People can get heated, but everyone loves this, and everyone, despite how mad and how angry people get, they come back because this means so much. Because this is, again, this is the dream. This is as close as most of us will ever get.
And one thing
So,
that's sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. I was losing my train of thought there.
One thing that's really cool for me is, like, obviously, like, I have family members, that, like, my dad's a huge racing fan. It's one of the reasons why I got into racing, as a young child. And, the fact that I can send him one of my races, and I mean, I'll never forget, I sent him one. I don't remember what race it was, but it was like a super speedway race. I usually always send those to my family because it's about the only chance I have of winning anymore. But I mean, I sent the link, and I remember my dad texting me back, and he's like, "Damn, it looks real." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, that's with the production and the quality of these races, and you have the tickers and the towers, that are set up to, obviously y'all have a lot of really awesome, overlays, and like you said, you're getting some new ones, but even just the tickers that, like, I use, they're kind of formatted to look like a NASCAR race on Fox pretty much. And, so they see that and they're like, hell, this looks like a real race, but I can see you're out there running in, normally 20th or something, but, it's just cool. Like, and I feel like every driver, does the same thing that I do, I'm sure, is like, hey, I want my mom and dad or my, cousin or my aunt or whatever, I want them to watch me race and then be like, wow, this is like really like, it looks like it's real. I mean, I get that comment all the time. It's like, it looks real. I'm like, it is real to us. Like, absolutely, it's real. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Oh, we're back.
That was concerning. I think Spectrum had a little bit of a fit. I was like, what's going on here?
I saw that the camera was like frozen, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, Spectrum, I think we had a little bit like a thunder shower here. I heard a little bit of thunder off in the distance. I was like, but we're good.
Yeah, Spectrum strikes again is what Blake said. People are making fun of me in the chat saying I'll never retire. I'm going to show y'all. And then Cody Pinnell, my cousin, said that I have to get to 1,000 starts before I can even consider retirement.
So,
well, joke's on him. I'm almost at 600.
So we'll address the retirement stuff right here because I've been in that position before. There is a balance to it, right? Like, there is 100% a balance to what I do, because I started experiencing a lot of burnout doing the commentary all the time, so I started doing racing more. So, like, there's a balance to it. Like, you'll step out of it for a little bit and you'll be out of it, and then there'll be a couple of really cool races, and you'll be like, I kind of miss it. Like, I kind of miss it a little bit, and then you kind of jump in with both feet and you kind of get the fever again. Yeah. Like, I started racing HTL Cup. I raced in HTL for a couple of races when they had like the preseason challenge, back when we first started that partnership with HTL, and it was like, okay, cool, it's a lot of fun. It's a next gen car. I didn't like the next gen car at all. Hated it. Didn't like driving it at all. I don't think a lot of people did at that time anyway.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But I started experiencing some races where it's really, really cool. Like, you look at, HDL had a couple races at Kentucky, which is my home track. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I've never won on my home track, ever, ever. So okay, that's cool. Just have some fun with it. And then obviously we get Joe Cortez, we get obviously Christina Ryan's back with us, we get Kevin Young back with us. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, now's the time. So I jump in with HGL both feet. It's been a lot of fun running those cars. I get to fill into your car. I get to drive a Ford of all things for
Yeah.
Chicago. Yeah, not sure how
I
I feel
don't think
about that one.
I don't think many people know about that, so that's breaking news there. Yeah,
It's a
the 12 car will not be piloted by me at Chicago Street Course.
But we need to get ARC. We need to get A Squared. Now that we're not following the Cup schedule to a T, we need to get them running at Kentucky. Kind of get the full gauntlet going back together, because every single race Kentucky, whether it's been SNS or HTL, it's just been an absolute banger.
It's a great track. It is.
No, what I was trying to do before internet decided that it wanted to try to knock me out of my place was I was actually going to kind of show, because we're talking about like the overlays. I was going to kind of show a sneak peek of that, but I've got to kind of work on that behind the scenes now, because Spectrum obviously was trying to hijack that one. Because we have a really cool ticker working coming up. For those that haven't watched ABN Champ Car, we kind of have begun to kind of follow the inspiration of TNT. For those that remember the wide open coverage races they did at Daytona from like 07 to 2010, we have a version of that ticker that we've been using for Champ Car. Well, the ticker, the wide open coverage ticker, which runs at the bottom of the screen, it works sometimes. It doesn't work great with all the cameras all the time. So we're making a tower based off of it. So something that we can have either bottom ticker or the tower. And I was trying to get that because it's almost ready, and I was going to show a sneak peek of it. I'll have to wait probably until the end of the podcast to kind of show it, because I know we have a bunch of questions too. I know people have been in the chat.
I will tell you, I'm not even lying. This is probably the most excited I've been about a podcast. I was so happy to have you on. So yeah, I mean, I know you said you're going to have a late night. This one's probably not going to be a 1 hour podcast. This one might be closer to like a 2 hour podcast. So
there's so much that because we're huge racing fans. Obviously, you're a huge NASCAR fan. You obviously you kind of cut your teeth during dirt racing. I know that you've done more dirt races than anything.
Yep.
I do open wheel, which a lot of the open wheel drivers used to come from dirt. So thanks, USAC, for ruining that one for us in the 90s. But no, there's a lot. The opportunities are limitless. I see people just overall just in the chat. I think that's Fetter Place. Give me my Kentucky race.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying. That is ABN's home track. Obviously, I think Fetter Place is from the same. Fetter Place is from Cincinnati. That's where ABN's technically located as a business is located to Cincinnati.
Yep.
So yeah, that's his his closest track. I think that's like a 45-minute drive from Cincinnati to Kentucky Speedway, because it's like right in between Cincinnati and Louisville. So yeah, Kentucky's a huge deal to a lot of people down here. I can get us IndyCar, get us NASCAR, get us something down here.
Anything, just anything. I think Dale's from Ohio too.
Yeah, Dale's from Ohio. I'm trying to remember, because I know Brian Rupert's from Trenton, Ohio.
Yep. And I had him on a couple weeks ago too. That was a good podcast too. But yeah, Dale, where are you from?
I'm trying to remember. I know he's from
Cleveland.
He's from Cleveland.
That shithole.
No, it's not Toledo. There's a saying: you can be from Cleveland, you can be from Columbus, you can be from Cincinnati. Just don't be from Toledo.
Yeah. True.
Because that's rough. That means you're way closer to Detroit than you want to be. So Cleveland's fine. Youngstown. That's what I was going to say. I wasn't going to say Cleveland. I was going to say Youngstown. I was going to say outside of Cleveland. But there's a lot of Ohio drivers. Obviously, Rupert, myself, Fetter Place, Markowski. There's Christina Ryan was born in Ohio. She doesn't live in Ohio anymore, but she was born here in Ohio.
Did you ever know Terry Gabbard? He was he was when I joined, he was there, but not much.
That was the beginning of the end for Terry Gabbard, as far as him being not involved with running a pizza store.
Yeah, I think he's originally from Ohio. He moved to Indiana, but I think he lived in Ohio as well. So
I remember because I remember he ran a champ car race and he ran with the Bengals paint scheme. So
Hmm.
I knew that he was somewhere from around the lower Cincinnati area. I'm trying to remember, there's more people that are from Ohio than I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, Blake said Pendle's from Ohio as well.
Oh yeah, Chris Pendle.
Yep.
He's from Aberdeen. He's literally just like 40 minutes south of me. Because whenever I go to visit my dad's side of the family, I go through Aberdeen, which is where Chris Pendle's from. So I literally go through Chris's hometown once a month at least. He's up through this area going to like Washington Courthouse and everything. Like there's if you're in like this area of Ohio, you almost know everything about it. Like from Chillicothe to Cincinnati, from Portsmouth over to Aberdeen to Washington Courthouse to Wilmington. It's a very small place in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy how many, we have all these different people that we race with, and it's like it's almost crazy to be like Blake obviously is from Georgia. I know he's planning on moving pretty soon, but I don't live in Georgia anymore, but
It's
30
funny,
years.
you live in Michigan now, and so does Sasek.
Yeah, we were talking about the other day before a broadcast. Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, I'm up here in Michigan." I'm like, "Oh, so am I." I'm like, he's like, I think he's like 45 minutes from where I'm at right now, and I was like, "That's crazy, man."
There's a lot of people like AB's got a lot of Midwestern roots.
Yeah.
Shocker, a series built on open wheel racing in the United States is Midwestern as hell. Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people from Indiana. Jack Mulkey's one of those from Indiana.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously you got Reynolds from Chicago. You've got, on the HTL side of things, Alfred Denny's from Wisconsin. I think a couple people from Wisconsin. Blake's like, if I had a nickel every time someone that runs in HTL was raised in Georgia and moved to Michigan, he'd have 2 nickels. Not a lot. It's funny it's happened twice.
It has happened twice. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm up here for
Ohio deserves its praise. We ain't got nothing else. Yeah, we do. I mean, I get to play both sides of the fence because Kentucky, we're the home base for Toyota USA, Georgetown. That's where the Camry and everything's produced. Ohio produced the most recent Honda NSX. That was produced in Marysville, up north of Columbus. We also have 2 of the best amusement parks in the world that are not Disney.
Yeah.
So we've got something. It's not like Indiana or Iowa where it's just corn.
Yeah.
We got something. And we also have sports teams that are not entirely mediocre anymore. Chicago. So yeah, Ohio's got stuff to it. Doesn't mean I don't want to get the hell out, but we've got stuff here. It's just a matter of now, okay, I want out of Ohio. Well, where do I go?
Yeah.
That's the next fun little answer to the question. Everyone else has been able to answer that question. Like you went to Michigan, and
Yep.
Christina went to Charlotte, and Blake's anywhere but here. And I'm like, well, I know I don't want to be here, but I don't know if I want to stay in the state or if I want to just go across the country.
Mm.
We'll figure that one out. But that's the fun thing is that we need to actually pick a race and just okay, all ABM members, we're going to this race. Let's go ahead and just grab a grandstand, because especially if we went to Milwaukee and just grabbed an entire grandstand, they're not going to stop us. Because for those that don't know, IndyCar is going back to Milwaukee for the first time for a doubleheader, and the weekend tickets are cheap as hell, which is my indicator that's not selling very well. Shocker. Because you can go and get a full weekend, which is 6 races, for $140. That's 2 IndyCar races, that's 2 Indy Next races, and I think they've got a stock car race and a Stadium Super Trucks race going on there.
Yep.
So it's a big weekend in Milwaukee. So we got to figure out if we can get everyone up there.
We've done something. We're actually this year we're going to Atlanta, but ARCS does Rick James calls it our corporate retreat. We're a business. We don't make any money, but we have done the past 3 years. The first time we ever did it, we went to Bristol Dirt. The very first time that the Cup Series had ever been on dirt, in 50-something years. We went to Bristol Dirt. We had probably 15. We always usually have about 15 of us that, we get a big Airbnb. I mean, it's crazy. You get these big ass houses and you got 15 people going. Hell, we stay there for like 5 days and it's like $100 a person because you have so many people staying that it's super cheap. But we did Bristol Dirt, we did Talladega, and then last year we went to Darlington, and then this year we're going to the Atlanta race in the playoffs. So
I'm happy you all waited until after you had moved out of Atlanta, or you
Yeah.
moved out of Georgia,
I know.
to go back.
Yeah,
You could have saved money on that one.
I really
by
didn't
switching.
really didn't plan that one out. We probably should have went to Michigan this year, but yeah, didn't do a good job of logistics there on my end.
It's not a bad pick because I believe the Atlanta race on like Labor Day weekend is supposed to be at night, so that's going to be fantastic. So
Yeah,
can't really lose on that.
unfortunately this year it's not at night. Next year it will be at night. Yeah, it's a 3 p.m. start for the playoff race, so it sucks. But we got some new people. Like I think Fetter Place is gonna come this year. Brandon Proudfoot is planning on coming up there with it or down there with us to Georgia. I forget. I'm not in Georgia anymore, but so it's always cool to see. Like every year we always have like one or two new faces. That we've, I mean, of course, like staying up late, we're all drinking, having fun. We turn our cameras on, we see each other, but it's a whole different experience when you actually meet someone. It's like, holy shit, I've raced around you for 2.5, 3 years. And now
I've
I
threatened to
actually
like karate chop you in the back of the neck for like years.
Yeah, and now I
now
get
we're
to
the
meet
best
you.
friends.
Yeah, like it's crazy. But yeah, Blake, if you're still in Georgia, we have a big ass Airbnb that we've rented. So come hang out with us. I think Cody, my cousin, he's gonna come up for a day and hang out with us, and it's gonna. I mean, look, we drink a lot of beer when we go on these trips, and there's a lot of fun stories that have been told on a couple of these podcasts. But it's a blast.
Depending on how next year goes, I may start doing this kind of same thing for like Nashville for the season finale for IndyCar, because they're racing in Nashville Super Speedway now because of the Titan Stadium being constructed, and it's supposed to be a Saturday evening race, which is amazing. We've not had that for a little bit. So I may start trying to do that because it was fun just meeting. Because I met like 5 or 6 ABN members at Indy. It'd be really cool just to be like, okay, and Nashville's not going to have the crowd that Atlanta's going to have by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah.
Dominate a grandstand or part of the infield and just kind of run wild with it.
Yeah, we actually lost. One of the best stories that we had from Talladega is a lot of y'all know. Again, a lot of us, we call people by their Xbox names, Davy Jones, but his real name's David Houck. Races on Sundays in A Squared with us. When we went to Talladega, I think it was the night of after the Xfinity race, he was just...
Yeah, it was before the Cup race. I remember this story.
Yeah,
because everyone's trying to get a hold of Davey.
Yep.
And I'm just sitting here like, where did he go? And dude swears up and down, like in this whole time that he's missing, that like he's met like Ricky Rudd and stuff. To this day,
yeah,
still claims it.
They were on the bus. Luckily, I didn't even go to the Xfinity race. I felt like shit that day. I was like, I'm just gonna stay home, watch the race at this nice ass house. It was a nice house. It was in Birmingham. It wasn't a nice area. It was a nice house. We'll just leave it at that. But they were on, the story that I have been told is they were on the bus to go back out of the track from the infield out. And you know how, in the infield of pretty much any track or whatever, they have different stuff set up, especially at Talladega. Well, Ricky Rudd's car was sitting, at this little place, and Davey stands up on the bus and goes, "Stop the bus! Stop the bus! It's Ricky Rudd!" And of course, so the bus driver stops because he thinks he's probably about to get mugged or some shit. Who knows? And Davey gets off the bus. Toby and a bunch of other people are with him. I heard it was a wild night at Talladega on Saturday. But Talladega was cool because they have the Talladega short track literally right down the road. So we were able to go watch some dirt racing, which is what I love. My cousin Cody, he went with us that year, and we were able to watch Chase Elliott run. Ricky Stenhouse was running the sprint car. I mean, that was just a cool atmosphere. I mean, Talladega just doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks that are on my bucket list still. I want to go. I want to go to Watkins Glen at some point. Daytona's high on that list.
Yep.
Charlotte, just because everyone else is going to Charlotte at this point except for me. Nashville is another one that's on the list. Yeah, there's a lot of races that I want to go to at some point. Now that I've gone back into going to races, there's a lot of tracks on that list. I know Milwaukee and Nashville are on this year's list
Yep.
to try to knock those out, and then I want to go to Daytona either for the 500 or for the 24. I got to figure that out still, but it's there's as a racing fan, you don't get a lot better experiences than going with friends, and like especially like if you're like just shooting the shit, like doing like cautions and all that stuff. Like especially like someone's favorite driver crashes. Oh, you're gonna rib them for it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be the most miserable like 5 minutes ever for them, and then the racing goes back on, and like you can't hear for like 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Exactly.
So like that's the fun part about it. So if there's anyone that's not been to races or have not gone in a while, go back. The atmosphere before the pandemic and after the pandemic is different, but it's better. Miles better. I think everyone at this point has a way better appreciation for what we have now. It's a way better atmosphere just across the board. If you
Agreed.
can, and most of the races are a lot more affordable now too. Like I walked in the door at Indy the day of for like $40.
Yeah. That's
It
crazy.
was great. It was great.
All
Biggest
right,
race on the planet and $40 to get in.
I got to take a quick pee break, so I'm gonna go pee real quick. But we'll
I might answer some of these questions while you're
go for it. Go for it.
I know they've been queuing up a little bit.
I will leave your audio on. I'm gonna turn my audio off because I've been told that when I go to the bathroom with this podcast mic, people can hear me peeing.
It picks up.
Yeah. So all right, I'll let you answer questions. I'll be back in a little bit.
All right. So, well, Ryan uses the restroom real quick. There's some people that have submitted questions on the Behind the Driver Discord. So I'm going to answer some of those. If you're wanting questions answered in the chat, I've got my chat up on my phone too. So I keep glancing off to the side because I have my phone up too. If you have questions, feel free to ask those too. But I'm going to try to answer the ones on Discord first because those are the ones I saw earlier tonight. A question by Brandon Fetterplace. What made you want to be a broadcaster? There's a lot of experience. I love being able to tell a story. Being able to sort of explain what's going on and relay that to people that may or may not understand what they're watching. The biggest difficulty is for getting in any sport, whether it's football, racing, basketball, is understanding what you're watching. What are the rules? What's going on? I think I do a good job of that. And the idea and part of what kind of inspired ABN as an esports sort of community was being a little bit more accessible. Um, especially in our hobby of sim racing, it can be a very gate kept community. So for me, that was a big obstacle sort of to try to jump over was making things more accessible, and we've done a good job of that. That was a big factor of me kind of jumping in and kind of taking on ABN as a broadcaster, was making things more accessible, but also being able to shine a light on a lot of really cool and interesting in different communities too. Because now we have sports cars, we got open wheel, we got stock cars. We've had dirt racing on and off. There's a lot of different things, and the sky's the limit. When you're talking about esports and you're talking about like just content creation in general, part of ABN's expansion plans, this year is doing some non-racing stuff. Getting a community together for like GTA game nights or just game nights in general, and just kind of having fun, doing some silly races or silly games, and just kind of letting loose. That's something that I think's really kind of been in the works for the second half of this year. and now it's like, okay, we've done the accessibility thing. Now it's time to be a little bit more entertaining and appeal to more people and try to draw more people into what we do on a regular basis by doing something a little bit different. But that is the answer to Federal Place's, I think, first question. What made you want to be a broadcaster? And his follow-up question was, do you prefer being a broadcaster or racing? Depends on what it is. If it's stock cars, put me in the booth. For the most part, put me in the booth. If it's open wheel like Champ Car, I prefer being a driver. I actually have a new racing wheel that you kind of see off in the background here. Bought this specifically for open wheel racing, for Champ Car racing, because I got my ass beat in season 5. Got my ass completely beat. Got waxed. Not doing that again in season 6 when that kicks up in July. The goal is to win a race. It just so happens that it also worked in HTL2 on Tuesday night, because we went and I got like a top 5 at I believe it was, I think it was Kansas we went to.
Yep.
I went from like 23rd to 5th.
Yeah, you were hauling ass.
That was my first stock car race with this. My only stock car race so far with this rim, with this new direct drive wheel. So that was a lot of fun. So the objective is to try to be competitive again. But like sports cars, I'm not a huge sports car fan. I'll be completely honest. Don't like the way most of them drive. I'm still buying the freaking Corvette when it comes out next week. Duh. But sports cars, I'd rather be in the booth for, just because I don't find them interesting to drive. And stock cars, like, I'm good in the trucks. I'm getting my feet figured out for the next gen car. Anything else, yeah, booth. Still booth. And you're gonna have that. Everyone in ABN is a driver in some way, shape, or form. They're gonna have something that they prefer. Like, Christina's gonna prefer most likely the stock cars. She prefers the Gen 4 cars. Ryan prefers, the dirt cars and the stock cars. He loves being in the booth. But obviously, he's also going through the burnout too, so he's got to kind of figure out that fun little balance. Everyone's at the little sweet spot. Mine just happens to be, IndyCar racing. And then we'll do one more. And Markalski's is actually really interesting from the Discord. What do you typically see stock car drivers struggle with when trying open wheel cars? The weight difference is a huge one. It's less pronounced between the 7th gen car and the Champ car, or the Indy car. I keep calling it Champ car, because they drive similarly. The NASCAR next gen car, the 7th gen car, is just 50 miles an hour slower. It's the weight. The NASCAR next gen car, 3,500 pounds. It's 670 horsepower thereabouts. 3,500 pounds. Not a lot of downforce. Worse tires. That's, I think, the big difference is tires. IndyCar, 1,600 pounds. On like Iowa, it's 750 horsepower. And grip out the ass. You're going to see drivers like what NASCAR hopes happens to Iowa is what is actually going to happen with IndyCar at Iowa, and that is 3 or 4 lanes of racing. Like every lane is usable at Iowa in IndyCar. It may not be that way for NASCAR, but it will be that way for IndyCar. Just because it is, you can put that car just about anywhere and make it work. The flexibility and the speed is hard to adjust to. It's easier to step down, it's easier to step up if you're like used to like oval racing all the time. It's harder to step down. That being said, it's easier for a NASCAR driver to step into an IndyCar oval than it is for an IndyCar driver to step into a NASCAR road course race, because they are so different. It's easier to adjust to the lighter weight than to have to like reverse it and kind of get used to a heavier weight, which is why in NASCAR this year, drivers like Kamui Kobayashi and Jenson Button have struggled, because they come from sports cars and open wheel cars that are a lot lighter. They're not getting up to grips. Shane Van Gisbergen has done a fantastic job, because he went from a car that's 3,300 pounds and running on road courses to a car that's 3,500 pounds running on road courses and just has less aero. He just does better there. And then we talked about earlier, the drivers wanting to do the double was with Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin. They're 2 of the best oval drivers IndyCar has right now. If anyone's going to stick that double from the IndyCar side, it's going to be those 2. And this car is the closest that it's been to matching how IndyCars feel as far as the dirty air and everything on ovals. It's the closest that they've had so far. Like Danica and Dario would have killed for this, 15 years ago. So the weight's the biggest thing. The weight is 100% the biggest thing, and the smaller the track or the more technical the track, the harder it is. You put like Kyle Larson, he did fantastic at Indy until a speeding penalty. You put him on a road course where you have to like wheel and deal that car like it's Watkins Glen every race. No, not gonna work the same way. But you put like a Chase Elliott, you put like a Ryan Blaney at Indy, they're gonna do pretty well. And I think you're gonna see a lot more of that. And it's fun that IndyCar drivers are doing that too, because they're realizing that the NASCAR Cup car is not that far away now, as far as like how it feels. But yeah, that's the fun little difference between drivers coming from stock cars to open wheels. It's in how each struggle.
For sure. Yeah, I would love to see Blaney do the double next year, but especially because obviously he drives for Penske. Penske cars very, very fast at Indy. That would be a sight to see, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. It'd be really fun seeing him with like Will Power and Scott McLaughlin and Newgarden.
Yeah,
that'd be
that
nuts.
would be awesome. All right, so I gotta ask you, because some people I kind of know how they made their way into ARCS. Some people I don't, and I have so many. Just like you with ABN. You have so many new people coming in all the time. It's kind of hard to keep up with. So tell us about your story. How did you find ARCS? How did you get involved with ARCS? Obviously, you're more on the broadcasting side, but you have run a few races with us. How did you find ARCS? What's the story behind that, and how you got involved with ARCS as a whole?
So I got involved with ARCS. This would have been late fall of 21. I was doing some recruiting for an IndyCar series. Kind of getting that ready to go. And several ARCS drivers, Tommy Reynolds, Alex Demkowski, a couple others, kind of ran into the lobby. And it was like a one-off occurrence. I happened to be like at Watkins Glen. And then they joined me again the next night. And then after that, and we kind of just kept running into each other. And it's the same group of people. It's like Stitch and Reynolds and a couple of other drivers. And it's like, okay, they're coming in as a group. Okay, I understand that. And then they sort of realized, because I think we have like a stupid crazy race at like Kansas or something, just something wild. And then they eventually kind of bring me in. They send me an invite to the ARC server, and it's like, okay, well, ARCS has got like, because ARCS was trying to run IndyCar as well. They had, y'all had like you had made an attempt at it, and IndyCar's more expertise. So okay, well, let's try getting this off the ground again. So ABN and ARCS, that's where the partnership between ARCS and ABN began, was with running an IndyCar series. And the first race at Phoenix gets 28 cars. Right off the bat, 28 cars immediately. And is a wild night. And I didn't think much about it until I raced the following Sunday in the Daytona 250, which would have been my only like ARC stock car race to date is that event. And you all knew I broadcasted because I broadcasted Wednesday nights for Champ Car. And then y'all's original broadcaster for the Ace Pro Cup series ends up not being able to do a lot of the season. Well, okay, sure, why not? Like I've done stock car broadcasts. I just got done finishing a series that was running the next gen car. Why not? I'll do it. And then 12 races turned into 24 into 36. Ended up doing the entire season minus that one race at Daytona. But a lot of it just kind of started with, ARCS. They had a lot of people in ARCS. Oh, by the way, a lot of people that were in ARCS at the time are still in ARCS. They're still racing. had an interest in learning IndyCar racing during the pandemic, and I just happened to be the person that that knew IndyCar racing enough to make it palatable, and the rest was history from there. And then obviously they kind of realized, oh, you know, Carmen can broadcast races too, and then it kind of goes from there. Then I go from broadcasting A squared to also broadcasting SNS, and you know, the story goes on from there. But yeah, Champ Car, despite ARCS being almost purely a stock car and grassroots group, we started off because of Champ Car, because of open wheel racing, which was the
Yep.
funniest thing ever. And we started off with 28 cars, which was wild, because for up until season 5 last season that we ended in May, not a race had touched it. Like a couple races had come close up
Mm-hmm.
until last season, no one had touched it. Then we had like 5 races that got like 20 to like 30 cars. I was like, okay, cool, we're back, we're cool. So that was fun. We started off really hot there, and as ARCS needed me to do stuff as far as like broadcasting or assisting with stuff, I was just kind of there. ARCS is known to have some hotheads that kind of clash every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
so I've had to mediate a few of those meetings, kind of be like, okay, let's kind of calm down, let's let better heads prevail. And that's sort of why I think that's the reason I'm still an admin in ARCS, is because I am sort of if all else fails, here's the mediator. Um, but the yeah, just kind of started like, okay, she knows IndyCar racing. Oh, she has to broadcast. Great, two birds, one stone. And it's gone from there. ARCS became a second home. Um, when I came out as trans, that was ARCS was the first community that knew. And that's not easy. That's not comfortable. That's not like a comfortable thing to kind of just come out into the
Mm-hmm.
woodworks and kind of say, because you don't know how people are going to kind of view that. And the response was overwhelmingly positive. And I was like, okay, ARCS really is home. And that's I think a really special thing for me, and it's something that's going to always be special, is that I've grown so much, and ABN has grown so much with ARCS, that I can't imagine if that hadn't happened, if ARCS and ABN hadn't come together to do Champ Car that one season. I can't imagine ABN even being where it's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of funny. It kind of just starts off with Alex Simkowski, or Stitch, as everyone knows him at this
Mm-hmm.
point. Stitch and Reynolds and a couple others, just kind of coming in and bombing my my hosted lobbies for about a week straight until I joined, and then off to the races, and away we went there. Y'all paired me with the worst admin pairings you could have possibly given me
Oh yeah.
when you had me with Stitch in SK. You
Yeah.
you
Woo.
you you doomed me on that one.
Yep.
And we kept rocking. So obviously I survived that test. Um, but no, it's fun to look back on, because like it's again, like it's something that I don't think at the time you don't think about a whole lot until you kind of look back at where we're at now, like with ARCS now having so many races a week, and ABN where it's at now, where we have 1,300 followers, we have major broadcasts every night of the week, we have potential sponsors watching our streams now on a regular basis. Like, it all started because I took a swing, joined a server that I knew nobody from, and just kind of got along from there. And again, it kind of just shows how important the joined like passion of like racing is, because that was literally like the thing that kind of got everything started, was just, we love racing, and we're gonna race. If it has wheels and we can drive it, we're gonna race it. And that's not something that's gone away.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I get very frustrated sometimes. Obviously, being an owner of ARCS, me and Tom Sears are the only two owners in ARCS. It's kind of up to us to make sure that everything's going in the right direction. And, but even going back, when we were still racing Heat 5 and just the transition that we made to iRacing. And then, again, you brought up SK. I mean, I actually talked to him the other night. I went in his server. I'm still in the NSR server, and went in there and talked to him, for probably, it was probably 30 minutes last week. And, we all get and I'm the worst. I mean, I am Ryan Blaney. Like, when I'm in that race car, I'm going to say some, like, y'all should be in presidential racing chat on Sunday nights. It's what I say is not PG-13. I will just say that. I mean, I have a hot head.
You can't be a driver in the slightest and not say some off the wall random shit. When you're like, I wanted to rip, for example, when I started racing HTL Cup, Speed Weeks was a nightmare for me. Like, their defending champion HTL Cup is Josh Susi, who I have a lot of respect for, ton of respect for. The first 3 weeks of the first 3-4 events, I get wrecked by him 6 times. I wanted his throat. I was off the wall ballistic, and we ended up talking about it, and we ended up settling it out. And then the following night, we ended up getting junked together because someone else just decided to be an idiot. I'm just like, come on, dude. What have I got to do? But as drivers, because the adrenaline's so high and because the emotion's so high, we talk about the passion a whole lot. You're gonna say some stuff because it hits you like a brick. I mentioned it for a lot of us being as close to the dream. When you're in that car and you're kind of just zoned in, nothing else matters at that particular point in time. So when your race is done, the first thing you want to do is rip someone's head off. And you don't, as a driver, if you take it serious at all, if you care even an ounce, you're going to let some shit fly in team chat, and you're going to let your mind you're going to let your mouth run faster than your thoughts at that point. And it's gotten people in trouble. There's a reason that that's the reason why I tell people, if you're mad, just don't hit the iRacing button.
Yeah,
just don't hit the iRacing button at all.
Yep.
Just you can say whatever you want to in your own little world. Don't hit that button. Kyle Larson, one of the best drivers in the world, taught us, don't hit that button.
Yeah, do not broadcast over comms. And I have made that mistake before, as well as every driver probably that is listening has made that mistake of, you hit that button, you say something. Alyssa Sharp got penalized in A squared because she hit that button. It's just, I know that in the moment, and again, I've been there, I have hit that button, but you can't hit the button. You just can't. You just, like you said, tell your teammates how pissed off you are. You come over comms and you say something stupid, or you call somebody, some bad word, you're going to get penalized for it. It's going to happen.
Yeah. And that's where it's that's where your team's a double-edged sword, because either your team can mellow you out, or your team's the worst enablers on the planet. Cody mentioned sideswipe. Yeah, that's a lot of enablers right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and it still is kind of. It still is in a way. They're still kind of together.
That was the era of my whole hashtag fuck the 27, and that still lives to this day. I see Jack Mulkey out there on Sundays when he races, and he's in a 27 car, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this.
I forget who was in the 27 before. I forget who was in the 27 before when that happened.
I know it was
2022.
Yeah, it was one of Briley and Cody Riggs. I don't know if it was their cousin or friend or something. It was Tyler Patterson that was running. Yeah, in the 27.
Because he raced the black and white, the black and silver DuPont car, and he had 27. It was a really weird aardvark font.
Yeah,
I remember that now.
Yep. So
I remember looking just because Catania had a DuPont paint.
Yep.
And then, I would say Catania. Reggie Catania raced the 24, or races the 24, and Patterson raced a similar car. It was just black and silver, and it was 27. I was like, are they teammates? Are they not teammates?
They are not.
And then Richie dumped Tyler in one of the races. I was like, oh, never mind, not teammates anymore.
Yeah. So that's where that whole thing came from. He wrecked me, and I think I still have a YouTube video of a radioactive that I put together, which is probably one of my best things I've ever created in my life. It was so funny. But yeah, that's where that whole fuck the 27 started, and it has never died. And poor old Jack Mulkey comes in as the 27, and sorry, Jack, but you just picked the wrong number, buddy.
It's funny because he picked the number for Alexander Rossi. Because Alexander Rossi, when he raced for Andretti and IndyCar, drove the 27. But now Rossi's racing just the 7, which is Tommy Reynolds' number.
Yeah.
For Arrow McLaren. So now Mulkey's just kind of stuck, unless he decides to make all the Canadians mad and race the 99 and take everyone away from Greg Moore.
Well, that was Stitch's number until he decided he didn't want to race with us anymore.
And that's funny because Stitch also did it for Greg Moore, and
Yeah.
he's not Canadian either.
Yeah. I mean, he's from Michigan, so I guess he's close, but yeah, still.
That's like saying I'm close.
Yes.
Like, okay, cool, you're from Diet Canada. Diet Canada doesn't give you the passport, though. Sorry, doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
But
Stitch actually got drafted this year, and he said
he got drafted both this year and last year.
Yeah.
No one learned.
I don't even remember who was it. Was it Seth that drafted him this year, or Tom Sears had him last year? I do know that.
Yeah, Line Power had him last year. I
don't remember who drafted him this year.
I think it was Seth that drafted him because that's for Tombstone.
I told Seth, I was like, "Don't do it," because for all
He's
y'all
not
that
going to be there.
Yeah, for all y'all that know, when we have draft day, it is one of the most fun events that I'm a part of because it's streamed live as the draft. I mean, it feels like you're watching the NFL draft, but for racing. I mean, it's insane. And Seth, all the owners, all the team owners are in a chat together as they make their picks. Obviously, I go into the broadcast chat and announce those picks. And Seth made his pick, and I'm like, "So, Seth, are you sure? Like, you've already made your pick, so you can't change it now. But really, like." And Stitch was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be there. I got an office job now. I'm gonna be there."
So that was a fucking lie.
Yeah, so
lying through his teeth.
And Stitch did not show up. He used his, I think he used a sub week 1. I think Blake may even subbed for him.
I think so.
Maybe at Daytona or something. I don't know, but yeah, I was like, "Yep, we're off to a great start for Stitch." Like, oh my gosh, that's
wild.
I told Seth, I was like, don't do it. And then Jeremy gets a steal, gets John Hagan in, like, I don't know if it was the second round or third round. And John Hagan is just, I mean, what has he got, like 6 wins this year? I mean, the kid can drive.
He's close to the record.
He's getting there. He's closing in on Tommy Reynolds. So,
which is funny because I have both of them on my team in HTL. That's a fun little conversation to have.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. Like, and it's a lot of fun, like, being back in the car for, like, stock car. Because I, like, as far as, like, HTL is concerned, I am in my Sam Hornish Jr. arc. If I get a good result, awesome. But I'm dog shit. Like,
I'm the same way on Sundays.
I've watched F1 race for 2 years, and, like, it's different watching than it is doing. Because, like, I'm doing the same stupid mistakes that some others are doing. It's just...
Yeah. Honestly, probably one of my favorite race that I ever did and got a good finish. No shit, is Long Beach when with the ABN. I don't know if it was called Champ Car then. I don't remember what we were calling
that's
it
basically
then.
what it is now.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing.
The fact that I finished 8th at Long Beach, I was like, something's wrong. This is not good.
we need to get more ARCS people to get back in it. Because Tommy Withers, he jumped in for a couple races this year. Damn near got a podium at Texas.
Yep.
Like, Seth was in contention. Like John Hagan was doing good at Indy. We need to get them ARCS boys on Wednesdays because Feemster's racing in it. I know that. Get some ARCS boys running again. I know Markowski and Oberstadt are racing in Champ Car Lights on Thursdays to sort of get ready for Champ Car, but like getting you and Seth and
Yep.
Hagen and Withers involved and
I'm
get
planning
a group
on
of
running
cars.
for sure because we're probably because I wasn't able really to run this season because we had our dirt series that was running on Wednesdays. So obviously dirt, that's that's my bread and butter. I love that. And Gaiman was out there running with us. Brandon Proudfoot, who is a former eNASCAR Pro Series driver on dirt with the super late models and even the rally trucks. So he's got a lot of talent, a lot of skill. So I love racing with people that are better than me because it makes me better. That's why I race. That's why I have almost 600 starts in ARCS. I race as much as I can in every different car because it helps make me faster overall. You're not going to get better if you only race one time a week. It's not going to happen. So,
Yeah.
but I'm looking forward to it because I don't think our dirt series it probably won't start till later, like way later this year. So I'm looking forward to running some of those. I'll definitely run the ovals, road courses. If I'm familiar with the track, I'll probably do it.
So to kind of walk through, because the season 6 calendar is already kind of posted. So season starts July 10th at Michigan. So it starts off in your backyard now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do Iowa, and then so there's 4 road course races on the calendar. The first road course race is Miami, Homestead Miami Road Course B. So it's like got the little infield section, and then it's got the giant part of the oval, which is fun.
Nice.
And then Phoenix, which we just set the track record for last season, because I think we had 192 miles an hour for an average lap speed at Phoenix. Yeah, that was a blistering lap. And then Atlanta, New Atlanta, on August 14th. That's the 5th race of the season. Then Gateway, Streets of Chicago, since we were Chicagoland last season, Pocono, Motegi, because we do the road course and the oval back to back. So if you get Motegi, you're getting your money's worth. That's a guarantee. USA, the free 3/4 mile oval.
That's a great track.
Fontana, Road America, Nashville Super Speedway, Indy, and Kentucky. That's the calendar.
That's a great schedule. That is. I could actually maybe compete for points. Like that sounds like a great schedule.
Yeah, and there's 4 drop rounds too. Well, actually, no, I think they're. Let me double check. There's either 4 or 5. Give me 1 second. So you can legitimately just like do the road courses as a backup race, like as like, hey, like I need a fallback race for drop points, and get away with it. Let me double check here. Yeah, there's 5 drop rounds, so your best 11 races count.
Got you.
So, and that was a big deal because like we had like 9 drivers with a chance at the championship entering the last race back in season 5. So, yeah, we had a lot of drivers competing, and obviously with the ovals we have this season because we have all 4 of the crown jewel races with Michigan, Fontana, Pocono, and Indy. Now you have all 4 of those. You have Kentucky, you have Atlanta, New Atlanta, which is insane.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
They're fast. The fastest ever ABN lap is at Atlanta. A 243 mile an hour lap.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a great time. I'm not gonna lie.
It's gonna be fun. But yeah, that all starts July 10th. Because there's some criteria because like a lot of like the newer drivers that are not eligible have to go through Champ Car Lights first. Just kind of get them used to it because it is way faster cars.
Yeah.
But like you're eligible full time. Seth is. Better Place, I believe, is because he was top 10 in points in A squared last season. There's a bunch of different eligibility requirements and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be. It literally it is like for oval racing, it is going to be sublime. Anyone that's not watched ABN Champ Car, go and watch the race at Chicagoland the race to Chicagoland was the race to Chicagoland and at Phoenix. Two of the best races you could get.
Yep.
Absolutely wild times for both of those races. And we'll race just about anywhere as long as it's paved. Like we race at Charlotte Roval, we're racing at Miami Miami Roval this season. We've raced at Daytona Road Course. We're racing at USA, which drives a lot like New Hampshire for some reason. We take it to some weird places. So, yeah, if you're a fan or if you're interested and you're able to, come on in because we have just looking at like all the drivers that are returning from last season. I think we have like 33 confirmed drivers returning. So pretty big list for next season.
And it's competitive for sure. And if that's one thing that I still am trying to learn with those cars is when you wreck those cars, there is no coming back. It's you are either done or you could limp it back to pit road and maybe get a new front wing or something, but coming from dirt cars and next gen, those cars you can kind of hit a little bit, it doesn't always tear the car up, but those cars, you get in a wreck, your night's probably done. Like there's really no way around it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like the races are so fast, the cars are so fast. Like you take on Vegas, you're going like 180, 185, right in the next gen car. We're doing 215, 220,
yeah.
easy. It's like okay, that's nuts. And that's normal. I thought about Phoenix. Phoenix, you all run with a dog leg, and you're averaging like 160 miles an hour at best. Without the dog leg, like we don't use the dog leg in Champ Car, 192.3 mile an hour lap record speed. That was set in the race in traffic.
Yeah.
Like
that's wild.
Good night. What in the world? And by the way, the lap record was set by a driver that had damage on their car. They weren't 100%. Like it's a wild time. Brandon Fetterplay saying that me in a stock car would be better than half of the A squared field. I wouldn't put it that far. I'm still kind of learning it. No. I'm just kind of having fun learning the Cup car again. I spent so much time when I started, I was in the 6th gen car, so I'm still like everyone's had like 2 years now to kind of learn the 7th gen car. I'm learning it now, so I'm a little bit behind. So if I can get some good results, then we're cooking. And hopefully this new direct drive wheel that I spent way too much money on, thanks to income tax return, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's another question I usually ask everybody is what do you use like as far as wheel and pedals? So what kind of setup do you have?
So I got a Moza R5. I was running up until last week a Thrustmaster T300. Which is nice. It's not a bad for like a belt-driven wheel, a cheaper wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a Moza wheel. So this is one of the rims I have. This is the open wheel rim for the Moza R5. They have a bundle with the round rim, the stock car style rim, the wheelbase, and the pedals for $460. This was an extra $150.
Nice.
As a open wheel driver, first and foremost, this was a must.
Yeah.
It's got a quick release. It's got the magnetic pedals, the paddle shifts. It's got the dual clutch on the back here, and it's got fully customizable. As I hit the microphone on my headset, it's got the dials that are fully customizable. It's got 3 of them. It's got like the side dials as well, and all of the buttons here, and all of it's programmable. Like I can program like the colors of the buttons. I can program. I think it's like overall. I think it's got like a total like 74 buttons or something like that. So
nice.
It's not. It's really cool. It's obviously, as someone that's like done open wheel racing most of my career, I'll race like stock cars with it. That's what I raced at Kansas on Tuesday and got a top 5 in. So if there's any conversation as in like, oh, you should run a stock car rim, no,
No, I'm not going to.
No. Sorry. I was leading the race at
Yep.
Kansas. I've never led a truck race in my life until Tuesday. Yeah, sticking with this for a
Yeah.
very long time. And now I'm guilt tripping Blake Henderson, who runs HCL. He's in the chat earlier. I'm guilt tripping him to getting something similar because I came in one race, my first stock car race with the wheel, didn't have it calibrated or anything, and I still like walked over him. So
Hate to see it. Yeah. I have
he's having some rough times right now.
I have
He's on the
my
copium.
have my good old NASCAR wheel that I use with my
That's what
Fanatec.
that's what a lot of people want to have in our communities, at least. They
Yeah.
want that MPI style rim.
Yeah, but I don't have. I really would like to get. Obviously, Fanatec has an open wheel, wheel setup. I would love to get that because I do feel like it would help me not only with open wheel racing, but with some of the endurance racing that I do. I think it would be a huge help for me to have that and not have a big ass circular steering wheel because it's a lot harder to make those.
It's less about the size of the wheel and more about the functionality on it. It really with those cars it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because Seth races on a stock car rim and champ car, and the only thing that he struggles with is the adjustments, like the weight jacker and the roll bars. Like when I'm racing open wheel, like with this rim, like I've got my fuel mixture, my engine map modes,
Mm-hmm.
front and center, because they only ever really need to really touch this a couple times.
Yeah.
You have your roll bars, which are these two buttons here, or these two dials here, and then this is my brake bias. Move it backwards, move it forwards,
Mm-hmm.
and then weight jacker, which I only use for ovals, and you can move that as forward or backwards as you want to, and all of that, like for like the weight jacker and the brake bias, which you can adjust a lot. Your hands never leave the steering wheel. You just move your thumb.
Yep.
And you're only moving one thumb at a time because you're either messing with the weight jacker or you're messing with the brake bias. You're not messing with both.
Yeah.
So like the weight jacker is always on my right thumb because I'm right-handed. So it's always right thumb. So my grip's still firmly on the wheel. And like the functionality of a rim like this means more than anything in the world because it's actually, and this is different from the Thrustmaster wheels I had. This is heavier than the oval rim that I have, which is larger. It's larger in size, but it's lighter. This is heavier. I'm not used to that being heavier, but it's a lot more intuitive. It's a lot smoother.
Yeah.
So
that's like mine. Like my wheel. Like I have this little dial down here, which everybody can't really see, but when I'm running IndyCar, this dial is my weight jacker. So I'm, but you gotta
have
think.
To take your hand off of it.
Look at my hands when I'm racing, and now I have to reach down to change this weight jacker. Yeah. I mean, here's the dial, and my hands are here, so I have to literally take my hand off the wheel.
You can't adjust it as you're feeling it. You have to sort of process it and try to make that change.
Exactly.
Whereas with me, like especially with Indy, because I'm doing Indy fixed in a couple hours. I think I'm gonna be streaming that on my channel. Literally, you'll watch me, especially for those that know what we're talking about here. You'll watch me make adjustments at Indianapolis. The difference between those that are good and those that are great. Those that are great, those that can win at that race, they're adjusting every straightaway. Every straightaway, they're making adjustments because the wind is so important there. You're going to have something completely different going into turn 1 and then in turn 3. Almost universally different. And you have to be able to identify that and move quickly. While also, by the way, the setup for this season, for this 500, being a pack race setup.
Yeah.
It is stupid how many 3-wides I've been in already, just in officials this week. Like, no, you shouldn't be 3-wide like this on lap 5. It's get back.
Yeah.
But that's the fun part of it. But that also kind of leads into like having to do this. Do you use Fanatec for all your stuff?
Yeah, well, I don't have Fanatec pedals. I have Thrustmaster. I think it's like TLCM.
The most important part, you picked the worst thing to get.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah,
Oh goodness.
my pedals are I definitely need an upgrade on my pedals, but I have a Fanatec DD2 direct drive base with the NASCAR rim. I only have one rim. I do want to get an open wheel rim, but Fanatec is a little pricey compared to Moza.
So that's the thing, like because Thrustmaster just got bought by Corsair too, which is bad. I'm trying to move stuff so I can pull out my other rim because I have it kind of buried underneath stickers and everything. By the way, when you get one of these rims with Moza, they give you a bunch of stickers so you can label the buttons and everything. Because all these buttons I labeled by myself. But this is the rim that came with my Moza wheel, and you can see the difference. Like not as many buttons. There's no dials or anything on it. So it's not bad. It's not. I like the quality of it. It's lighter, like easily. It's lighter. It's like I think about a full pound lighter than my open wheel rim. But again, this is just my go-to now. That's all of this is customizable.
That's one thing that because I had a Logitech G923 before this, and the Logitech G923. I mean, this wheel, it's heavy as shit. And it's huge. It's fucking massive. I mean, it's like 4 times bigger than my head. The Logitech wheel, it was like this little wheel, you didn't. But fuck, I put this thing on, and I'm like, this is a full ass fucking steering wheel. Like this is legit. Like, and I had to get used to that going from a smaller wheel. Yeah, see, like that one even is it's not big,
it's a 14-inch rim. It's not terribly small.
Yeah.
Yours is like 18 inches, which is a huge difference.
Yeah, it was a huge jump to go from a Logitech G923 where I think I don't know, maybe 10 inches, and to jump to this, it was like, holy shit, I feel like I'm driving a damn truck in the back. Like I feel like I'm in an 18-wheeler with this big ass wheel, but I've gotten used to it, and I love it now. I mean, I wouldn't be able to go back to a belt-driven wheel. I wouldn't be able to do it.
That's the thing is that now on direct drive, it's like, it's game over. Like I'm not doing belt-driven wheels ever again.
Yeah.
The thing is, like for me, and I'll say this, like the open wheel rim is less physical.
Mm-hmm.
Than the stock car rim that you've got. Like I had the option to get a stock car rim if I wanted to for Moza, because you can use non-Moza equipment with the wheelbase. So like I could get like a Fanatec and just get a small little adapter, and be good. Because it's like a little cord that you plug into the back of the actual like motor that reads everything. But it's like one of those things like open wheel rim, like they actually have an open wheel rim that I really want that's got like a digital dash that you can program. The moment I get that, it's over.
Yeah.
It's game over.
Yeah.
No, for what I've got, because Federal Place moved to an R9, which is one above what I got.
Yeah.
Because I got the R5. There's like the R3, R5, R9, R13, R15.
Mm-hmm.
Mine had to be mountable on a desk. That's the thing. I race on my commentary desk.
Yeah.
Like I've got monitor 1 here, monitor 2 over here, racing screen back here. So iRacing's always up on here. So that's gonna be fun. And I get to stream. I think I'm streaming Indy. Let's see how Indy goes. Because I think there's 4 fixed time. There's 4 fixed time slots. There's one, I think 1 a.m., one at 5 a.m., one at 5 p.m. here on Saturday, and then one at I think 1 p.m. on Sunday. So there's a couple of different, and they've got both fixed and open too.
Yeah.
So let's see how the first Indy goes, because I've almost won as a crew chief, because I with Christina Ryan's only Indy 500 start officially in iRacing. I got her from being a lap down like 27th to like 2nd place. It's like I can. Another one of my hidden talents, I can crew chief.
Yeah.
We're really freaking good. But now I've got to try to do that myself. But I've already won races with the new direct drive wheel. I won at Texas last Saturday before I went to Indy. And then as soon as I came back from Indy and did the first race at Indianapolis, I won that one too. It's like, okay, cool, awesome. We're swinging for the fences.
Yeah, it's a whole different experience when you go from a belt driven wheel to a direct drive. It is the difference is insane for anybody that's watching or listening. I can tell you personally that I know it might be expensive, but with Moza, I mean, they really have some really great packages that are really not that expensive. I mean, Cody,
and they're in the U.S. That's
exactly.
the big difference.
Like,
they're not like Thrustmaster in the UK.
I know John Smeal, he has a Moza wheel. Cody, my cousin, he's actually coming back full time in A Squared with Steven Oberstadt's team, Steven Oberstadt's team, Carolina Beagle Racing. He bought a Moza wheel or a bundle as well, and it's really not that bad. I mean, you're gonna spend anywhere between $400 to $600, but my Fanatec wheel, the wheelbase and the wheel was like almost $2,000. So it's Moza is definitely a very good company to look into if you want a good direct drive wheel.
Yeah, they are outstanding. I'm happy with my choice. I really am. And it's as far as like as much as we do this, it makes sense to get like the better quality stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really just makes its money back. Like you think about just one season of just using the equipment. Like I'm running Champ Car and HTL Cup. Like that's like less than $5 a race. Makes it all back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's easy. And this stuff's built to last. Like you're gonna be doing multiple years of this stuff. Like this is 6 hours of the Glen. This is 24 hours of Daytona. This is This is future proofing for later. Not only this year but next year.
Yeah, you got to get something that lasts. I mean, that's what's important. And my Fanatec, I mean, I think I got it maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and I mean, it still works great. I mean, but I've put a lot of laps on this damn base and wheel, and it's still kicking so far. So
yeah, I love it. I don't think I'll ever go back to it. I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of drivers that are trying to figure out, what should I get?
Yeah.
Moses is a really good one. And the only reason I got Moses because like one of the teams in ABN Champ Car are sponsored by Moza.
Mm-hmm.
So like I hadn't even heard of them until they come in. I was like, okay, I'll look at them. Oh, I can afford this. And then a couple months later, here I am. So that's a lot of fun. We're almost at the 2-hour mark.
We are,
and we have a lot of. There's a lot of questions. I think I answered 3 of them. So I gotta get down through this list here.
Well, you answer some questions. I'm gonna go use the restroom again because I've been drinking too many White Claws. So I'll leave it to you, and I'll be back in a minute.
All right. All right. So Connor Knowlton asked the question: which race was your favorite to commentate and why? My favorite race to commentate, I think has to be I'm going to say the HTL season, the HTL Cup Series race we did at Kentucky. This because it was HTL Cup Series season 3. It was me. It was Christina Ryan. It was kind of just us two in the booth. My home track, first race I've been able to actually broadcast at my home track and feel like the weight of it. Phenomenal racing at Kentucky. Ended up being a photo finish race between Brandon Proudfoot, wrong Brandon. Between Brandon Proudfoot and Caitlin Height at Kentucky, photo finish race. Proudfoot ran Caitlin Height down, ran her completely down. Just didn't have the time to actually make the pass happen. That one's probably the most fun race because it was a very low caution race. A lot of strategy went into it. That's probably my favorite race as like a broadcast, as like a commentator. I think I already kind of covered the ABN. What motivated me to build the ABN brand to where it is now? I already answered Kevin Feemster's question. Have I preferred driving or broadcasting in HTL? Jury's out on that. Truck Series, I prefer racing in it. Cup Series, I know I'm still learning. Right now, I feel like I would have been better off just being in the booth. But that's part of it because I'm learning what everyone else had 2 years to learn. That answer is probably gonna be a lot different by the time we get to the halfway point. By the time we get around, when we get to like June, and then we get like late June, early July, when I've had more races and more miles, gonna be a bit different. But yeah, trucks been fantastic. Now that I've actually been able to have a couple races where I've not been getting dumped, back-to-back top tens, so not bad. Favorite sport outside of racing? Favorite sport outside of racing is soccer. I'm a huge soccer fan. American football second. Um, I was a Columbus Crew fan before I became a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Still that way now. Columbus Crew defending MLS Cup champions. Cincinnati Bengals. We're better now than we were, thanks to Joe Burrow. But Ohio is, again, it's an anomaly. Like we're a big sports state, but we're more, especially like where I live, because I don't live near Cincinnati at all. We're definitely more of a soccer state than a football state. And should Larson get a playoff waiver? Yes, on the condition that they have given waivers to drivers they've suspended from the series. Larson, who showed up to Charlotte and didn't have a chance to because Fox screwed him over, should 100% have a waiver if you want to have anyone ever do the double ever again. Business sense has to kind of take over, and Larson, who could still become the regular season champion, could be ineligible to make the playoffs and be running for a championship just because he chose to take part in the biggest race in the world, over racing in Charlotte, which again got rained out and canceled by Fox. So
yeah, for sure.
There's all the questions there.
I agree 100%. I mean, if you don't give Kyle Larson a waiver, I mean, no one is ever going to do the double ever again. Because if it rains at Indy, which, again, I mean, these races are in May, so thunderstorms are a very strong possibility. Nobody's going to want to do it because it's like, okay, well, if this race gets delayed, now I'm going to miss the start of the Coke 600. And is that worth my entire season because NASCAR is not going to allow me to still have the ability to be in the playoffs? Like, I mean, come on, Chase Elliott broke his kneecap. Kyle Busch broke his leg. They got waivers. I get it. Those were injuries. They couldn't help that. But at the same time, like, look at what Kyle Larson did for not only IndyCar, but for NASCAR. He could have said, you know what? No, I'm not running the Indy 500. I'll get on a plane now. I'll go to the Coke 600. I'll start the race. But how much of a bummer would that have been to everyone that was like looking forward to Kyle Larson running that race? Like, it's just, I just think they have to give him the waiver. I don't know.
NASCAR was really big on Larson running the double because of the publicity. Because this is like the one race a year where IndyCar is going to hand it to NASCAR with their ass on a platter.
Oh yeah,
it's the one time a year. And NASCAR was really big on Hendrick spending millions of dollars to develop that Garage 56 car for Le Mans last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scratch. They scratch your back, you scratch theirs. Like, how much do you really want to make Hendrick mad? Because now Hendrick knows how cheap it is to run an IndyCar team.
Mm-hmm.
For the price of to run one NASCAR Cup car, you can run a full 3-car IndyCar team.
Yeah. So now it's do we start an IndyCar team? Like, I mean.
And Jeff Gordon was really, really happy. Like, yeah. GM were like covering him with like flowers at Indy.
Mm-hmm.
And a reminder, Larson initially wanted to race IndyCar. He did not want to be in NASCAR. It wasn't until like Chip Ganassi was like, nah, we're not putting you in IndyCar, because they already had Frank Keedy and Dixon and whoever else at that point. And now they have Dixon and Pillow and a bunch of other contenders at this point. Like it's like, okay, let's not poke the bear too awful hard, because like we're always seeing Stuart Haas. Tony Stewart's already like left the sport. We're seeing a lot of legends and veterans leave the sport.
Yeah.
Like the torch is being passed, and not in a good way. Like Dale
Mm-mm.
Jr. no longer part of broadcasts for the most part. Like I think he's jumped over to like what, Amazon for
Yep.
4 races.
Amazon next year. Five. I
That's
think 5 races. Yeah.
that's not a lot for
No.
someone who was the most popular driver in racing for years,
Yeah.
literally years. That's a big difference. I think like you can't keep making missteps, especially teetering as it is. Um, you've got to be able to put some. You got to put some common sense forward, and Larson not getting a waiver kind of feels like you're kind of just sticking it to IndyCar for the sake of sticking it to IndyCar when you already own a majority of the tracks IndyCar wants to run.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
they own Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
IndyCar revived Iowa, and now NASCAR sees what Iowa's worth, and now they're going to try to take it away from them.
Yep.
They took Texas away. They took Richmond away because
Yep.
IndyCar tried to make Richmond work. They took Phoenix. Like they've taken a bunch of these races away. Like, okay, you've got that leverage. Now you're just kind of trying to rub salt in the wound. There's teams right now that are looking like, oh, an IndyCar team is a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
A lot cheaper. Like running a single stock car, like for like 36 races and all that stuff, is closer to $22 million. A lot of money.
Yeah.
The funding for a single, like full season IndyCar drive, like you talk like you're approaching like there's an opening for Chip Ganassi Racing. There are 8 cars open, Linus Lundqvist just isn't it, and you're a driver and you're bringing sponsorship, and they give you a price tag, $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
You find $7 million of sponsorship, your name's on that dotted line.
Yep. And that's easy.
You realize how much money Exalta is spending right now?
I was gonna say that's easy for some of these Cup drivers. I mean, Alex Bowman with Ally. I mean,
or Exalta, like Exalta
Yeah.
with Byron. You have Napa,
Yep.
who have been giant IndyCar supporters and lost their ability to support Alexander Rossi. You think they don't want back in with Elliott? Hello, McFly. Well, you look at Penske sponsors. Menard's been trying to get back into the sport for years.
Yeah.
Like they've been throwing themselves at anyone that wants to go.
Yep.
Which
Perfect
is why I think
opportunity for Blaney. Yeah.
That's why I said that. I think Ryan Blaney has like the perfect opportunity because he's like there's money on the table waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
And then likewise, like if you have McLaughlin or Newgarden, they're running a shell scheme.
Yep.
Easy, done.
Yeah.
That's extra money right there. Like, there's a lot of teams right now in NASCAR. If they bring that sponsorship over to IndyCar, they're made.
Mm-hmm.
Just plain and simple, they are made. Like, and especially if IndyCar gets the new rights that they want, that's big because it's either they stay with NBC, which is not a bad call because most of IndyCar's races are on cable. Or they move to Fox, which I don't think is likely because they want a streaming partner, and Fox doesn't have a streaming platform.
Yeah.
Or they become the only racing option on CBS,
Mm-hmm.
and they get Alan Bestwick back.
Yep.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that thought a lot. So like, there's a lot of really good options there, and plus they get to be put on Paramount Plus, which
True.
is way more lucrative than Peacock is.
Yeah, Peacock's kind of. I mean, I pay like $4.99 a month to have Peacock, and it's like the only thing the only reason I have Peacock is because The Office is on Peacock. That is honestly the only reason I have Peacock.
For me, it's for IndyCar and WWE. That's it.
Yeah, like
That is legitimately it.
IndyCar is just like a secondary thing, but like the only reason I have it's The Office, and it's like, oh, cool, I can watch IndyCar too. Like that worked out well. Like,
yeah. So that's obviously like I think something to keep an eye on. But like, yeah, IndyCar's trying to do business. They're bringing back Milwaukee. They're going to the National Super Speedway, which is cool. Keep an eye on IndyCar as they're developing stuff because they just got Hybrid's coming out in Mid Ohio, I think in August. which also means we're gonna get push to pass on ovals.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna see upwards of like almost 600 horsepower on ovals next year.
That's awesome.
That's gonna be spicy. It's gonna
Yeah.
be very, very, very spicy because they've,
Yeah.
they've been testing it, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. Last time we had push to pass was 2010. For those that didn't know, and for those that don't remember, like pre like new era IndyCar, most of the closest finishes that have ever happened in IndyCar history have been from like 2003 to like 2010. So, give me more of that.
So they're running Iowa, and obviously we saw some pictures. I think Mongold actually talked about it. They repaved the bottom
lane
of
only
Iowa.
the bottom lane.
So what is that going to do for racing? Not only for the Cup cars, but for Indy when they go there.
To my understanding, I'd have to kind of get a better look at what it looks like. The idea is that eventually Iowa's going to get a full repave.
Yeah.
I think is what they're working on. I think they're kind of just playing because they don't want to put PJ1 on the track. Yeah. That was why they kind of went the half and half approach. They didn't want to put PJ1 on the track because they know that it doesn't work for anybody. So they, instead of going with the PJ1 route, they just started the repave early because the repave was supposed to be after the season for IndyCar.
Yeah.
And then NASCAR's like, hey, like we want to use PJ1, and Iowa's like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So instead of the PJ1, they decided to just repave. I don't think it's going to do what they want it to do because you have the inside lane, which is now smooth as silk, and the outside lane, which is like sandpaper.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But I also think that's going to be inadvertently kind of a disaster for NASCAR because Iowa it's a little bit faster than Richmond, but you're going from the bumps to that smooth transition. With how razor thin the margin is in the next gen, you're gonna have a lot of like inside lane spins.
Oh yeah,
whereas
for sure.
IndyCar is gonna hit that inside lane, and it's gonna like turn into like
like a
almost
boost.
like a Mario Kart speed boost.
yeah, like a
It completely
boost.
just shoots it out of the corner.
Yeah.
Which is going to be outstanding because I mean IndyCar has the downforce to cover that, NASCAR doesn't. I think there's a really good chance that it's a disaster for NASCAR.
Yeah.
And
also visually, the track looks like
it looks
ass.
awful. It looks awful like that because you look at the Iowa Speedway. Iowa Speedway's not been repaved since it was built, and the track was built like 2006, and it's went through like 16, 17 Midwestern winters.
Yeah.
It sucks up here. It does.
Yeah.
It sucks up here. It literally looks like they just carved it out. Is what it looks like. Like it looks like it's a giant rut. Obviously, it's not because otherwise nothing's racing there at all. But like the sun bleached asphalt versus like the fresh asphalt is not a great look.
It's really not.
It's better than like covering it all in PJ1 and having no one race there at all.
Yeah.
I think everyone's learned from Kentucky and Texas that like the PJ1 just doesn't work.
It doesn't. And the whole resin that they put down, like none of that shit works. Like it just doesn't. But let it age. Let it age. Yeah, like the picture I saw of the track where they had repaved like the bottom and like some of it even looked like maybe the middle line they repaved like some of the middle. They
repaved a little bit of the middle lane on the exits. It's towards the exits of the corners.
It just looks awful. Like it just
it looks like a really bad game of Tetris that no one finished.
Yeah. It looks like if Austin Mongold would repave a racetrack, that's what it looks like.
Let's be nice to Mongols. More like if Nick Fisher and Quiet had a competition over who could repave the corners the best.
Yeah.
And they both just kind of gave up because they thought they were done.
They're like, all right, we're done. We're done. It's like, what about the rest of the track? Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, Iowa doesn't look great, but I know it's temporary because they plan on repaving the entire track because it needs it. I'm curious about Milwaukee. Milwaukee's in an interesting state because it's either sink or swim, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like that's last time IndyCar went to Milwaukee, it was boring as shit because Sebastian Bourdais lapped just about the entire fucking field, and everyone's like, "Well, wow, that was bad." No one watched it because no one promoted it. So now we've got a doubleheader,
Yeah.
and who knows if people are going to watch it still or not. But
Now, Iowa last year for IndyCar was a doubleheader, wasn't it? Or okay,
and
but
it's a little bit better this season because one of the races for IndyCar is a night race. It's a
Oh.
nighttime race. It last season both the races were in the daytime.
Gotcha.
Now I think the second race is a nighttime race.
That'll be fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be. Iowa's always fun. Like we're gonna have like 27, 28 cars at Iowa for IndyCar, and the traffic handling and everything's insane. We also have cars that have been around. Like they are eligible for like classic car competitions now because we've had them that long. For those that don't remember, the IR18 is based off of the DW12, so the chassis is the same. Like the actual like survival tub's the same. That's what they based it off of. The survival tub's 12 years old, and it's going to be there for a little bit more because like there's no plans to make a new chassis, so we're going to have to deal with it for at least a few more years.
Yep.
So everyone's kind of figured it out for the most part, like as far as like what they need the car to do. That's why qualifying for Indy was so close. Like if you weren't in the 231s, you didn't have a chance.
Yep.
Pole time up until Scott McLaughlin ran his pole time in like Sunset, pole time was like 2:33.
Yeah.
That's such a small margin of time to worry about. Like that's the closest field in Indianapolis history by far, and someone still had to go home. Like we're at the point now where everyone's kind of got it figured out. That's where it kind of gets a lot more fun though, because everyone's got it figured out. Just someone's got to finish last.
Exactly.
So that's gonna be fun. The night race is gonna be fun as well. Milwaukee's gonna be interesting, just because I don't think Milwaukee works the way it used to. Even the better parts of that track aren't great. So we'll see how that goes. It's gonna be fun going there just to like knock it off the bucket list because nothing's been there for a little bit. To ask Carmen about Quiet's relationship. I'm friends with Quiet on Facebook. I see it plenty.
Yeah, we're not getting into that. We're not getting into that.
I see and know more than I want to know. Everything I've learned is involuntary. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to learn more. Like I don't really like Quiet as it is. I don't want to know that much.
Well, Quiet left ARCS a couple nights ago, and he is not back. So. Yeah, we won't get into that because I am also friends with Quiet, or I guess it's a joint account maybe. I don't know how that works. I've never had a joint account, nor will I ever have a joint account on Facebook. But it's wild.
It's a race to rock bottom, and unfortunately, I think Quiet found the basement to rock bottom.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Well, shout out to him though. I mean, he moved from Colorado. Now he's in Pennsylvania.
I don't know how he afforded it.
I don't either. And we asked him. We were like, "Hey, are you gonna race with us?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't bring my PC or my wheel or anything." And I'm like, "Where is it at then?" And he's like, "Oh, my uncle's got it at his house." And I'm like, "What? Like, are you gonna race with us or not?" And then he invited, so obviously, a lot of people watching are in ARCS, but some may not be. He invited his, I think they're engaged. I don't know that for sure. Maybe they're married.
Way too quick for me.
I mean, maybe they're married. I don't know, but he invited her into the Discord, and then that was a fun night because we were all just, poking him, and then she was getting involved in it, and I was like, oh, this is going to get wild. And then after that night, he left, she left, and hadn't seen him since. So I guess he was told that he couldn't be a part of ARCS anymore. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, Quiet's a character.
He is. He is.
I'll leave it at that. There's a couple of characters that are just like, okay,
Mhm.
he's one of them that are out there. I wish him the best. Have
Nick
fun in Pennsylvania, buddy.
Nick Fisher's another one that he's a damn character. I mean, the two of them. I think if they didn't hate each other so much, they would be really good friends. Honestly,
And we'd all suffer because of it. So
we would. Yeah.
let's count our blessings as they happen. 'Cause
Yeah.
Goodness.
I saw Nick Fisher posted a picture the other day that he got iRacing again, and now he's asking Withers and Tristrand for a number for SNS. So, good luck.
Oh no, I have to deal.
Good luck.
There's 5 races left in season 7. Just gotta
Just get to the end.
just kind of whittle the time away.
Yeah. Tristrand must have just woke up or something, because he just he's got like 16 comments.
Yeah, try just jumped in and is like, okay, yeah.
I'm gonna blow the chat
does
up
Carmen,
here.
What does Carmen think of a rip race of ARCS? I'm assuming that's like a tribute race for Quiet, since he has decided to kind of sink his own ship. Unfortunately, he's not done anything of note to deserve a tribute race. Unfortunately. Oh no! All the people who have been kicked. There's a lot of people that have been kicked from ARCS that I don't remember. I know James Pierce will probably kick their ass because he's like the only good one that's been kicked.
Yeah.
So, like, let's be honest.
Sure.
Like, there's not like typically there people are kicked for being god awful and shitty. James Pierce is just an asshole. So
Yeah.
like, there's a difference there.
Yeah, he pulled over for, what was that, Sonoma that he pulled over?
Florida Sonoma, so Reynolds could win.
Oh God, yeah, that was awful. That was not good.
Yeah,
we actually talked about that. I think it might have been last night after TNT, where we were actually talking about that, how it would be so funny if a lot of people don't know the story of Drippy Slide 9, which was he was the founder of TNT, technically. Fun fact, but he was a pathological liar. He said that he was a dirt car racer. He said he was filling it.
Not.
No, he was not at all. He actually posted a picture of his car. Again, this has been like 3-4 years ago at this point.
This was before I joined in. So
Yeah.
This was like is like 2021 levels of bullshit.
Yeah. And my cousin Cody actually sent me a picture or a Facebook post where, because Drippy at the time told us, yeah, I flipped my dirt car 6 times. I had to go to the hospital, and but I'm okay. And at the time we're all thinking like, oh man, hope you're okay, because we didn't know. And then my cousin sends me this Facebook post, and he's like, bro, this is the same car that Drippy said he was driving, but this post says that this guy's driving. So I'm like, so I actually sent a message to Drippy at the time, and I'm like, you're not driving this car. He was like, oh, well, they couldn't announce that I was driving it, because if they did, then the other guy would lose points. So I was driving it, but they said it was him. And I'm like, you're full of shit, bro. Like,
yeah, the gig's up.
Yeah, like,
Tristan's like, there's a documentary on Drip Free. If there's a documentary, I'm ready, because I don't want to remember it anymore. I don't want to remember it.
Tristrand, really, honestly, the documentary he made is one of the funniest things I've ever watched in my life. He did a great job. So Drippy also told us that at Charlotte Motor Speedway on NASCAR Heat 5, he had won 77 races straight at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we were all just like, that doesn't seem realistic, but
Drippy is the kind of person that would lose a single player race. He would finish second in a one player race.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, he'd be by himself racing the computer and still lose somehow. Yeah, like, And oh yeah, and he said his uncle was Scott Bloomquist. He told us that. I remember that. There was
He's
also
delicious.
another story that he told where he said that he went to the hospital because one of his lungs quit working, and that the people at the hospital told him, basically just told him, "Oh, well, we're just gonna let your left lung is gonna work. We're just gonna divert, your right lung. We're not gonna use your right lung." And we were all like, "Bro, that's not how lungs work. Like, if one of your lungs fails, you're not gonna like, you're gonna be in, you're gonna like maybe die. Like, that's not how lungs work."
So that's funny because like I have lung scarring from when I had swine flu back in 2012. And I can confirm lung damage isn't just happen in one lung. Like it takes both lungs to get damaged, because I have reduced lung capacity because of it, because like a lot of scar tissue.
Yeah.
It's in both lungs. Like it's in both lungs, buddy. Like you don't just get away with just having one lung go away. Like if you lose one lung, the other lung compensates and usually goes with it. Like it's a 2-for-1 combo, buddy, and you're out of oxygen.
Yeah.
Enjoy swimming with the fishes.
So we used to have a joke that we were like, "Oh, so his left lung is a Snickers wrapper, and his right lung is, it's still good, but the left lung, he's just got a Snicker wrapper, and there's a valve there for his lungs, so he can just divert his, his air intake to different lungs."
Theoretically, like he's not speaking complete bullshit. The issue is that they would just close off that part of the lung and just divert. Like you wouldn't have a valve. It would just they would like cauterize. They would cut out that part of like the lung.
Yeah.
And then cauterize the end, and they just leave it hollow, or they'd stuff it with something like silicone to give it shape.
Yeah.
Like you don't need a valve for something that doesn't work. Just cauterize it, like cut it off, cauterize it,
off, yeah.
seal it off, and just let it go. Like it's the same thing they do with like if you have like esophageal cancer, they just cut it out and like they'll create they'll connect it, and then like it's a solid piece still. You just are missing a piece. Like Google is your best friend, buddy. Like look,
if you're gonna lie,
if you can find it in 5 minutes, then you've not done a great job.
If you're gonna lie, at least do a good job of it. The thing that kind of pushed me over the edge, that really pissed me off, is ARCS is a community, and we're more of a family. I would call us a family more than a community, because yes, we have racing, we're competitive, we get pissed off at each other, but at the end of the day, we're a family. And he was actually asking our members he had set up like a GoFundMe to help with these, procedures. And he had another story where he dropped a transmission on his foot and he broke his foot.
The most realistic story possible on that one.
Yeah, I mean, he was changing the transmission in his dirt car, and dropped. So he was actually asking our members, our family, for money. And honestly, some of us sent him some money because we, at the time we didn't know. We just felt bad, like, oh shit, man, sorry. And then we start finding the truth, and it's like, bro, you're not
you piece of shit.
Yeah, you're a fucking piece of shit. Like you probably just fell down the stairs and broke your foot. You didn't drop a transmission on your foot. Like what the hell? So that was what really pissed me off. And that's when I went to Thomas Andrews and Tom Sears and Rick James at the time, which were admins of TNT. And I was like, hey, there's some pretty serious accusations here against this guy, and he's potentially taking money from our our friends and family, and I don't know if it's legit. And then once it got started, it was like, yeah, this guy's a lying sack of shit. Like, this is not true. And after that, I was like, yeah, get him out of here. Like, he's gone.
Yeah, that's... like I've seen all the memes and everything that go on because like it's like the one meme that just never dies. Like it's a go-to for some. Like, but it's how you tell seniority. Like it's how you tell
Yeah.
who's like an OG member of ARCS and
Hmm.
who's coming. Like it's before Drippy and after Drippy at times, as far as like the testament goes of ARCS. So yeah, I came in just after that happened.
Yeah.
Because I came in November of 21. That had to have taken place like no later than like October, because like it was
Yeah.
still something everyone talked about. Like I knew enough to be like, okay, this dude sucks. Um,
Yeah. Actually, my
so
first TNT race, I subbed for Drippy. Um, I think he was running the 9 car at the time, and he needed a sub for TNT. This was the first season of TNT back in 2020, and I was like, yeah, I'll race for you, no problem. And damn, if I would have known that he was the piece of shit he was, I would not have run his race car. But hey, hindsight's 2020 until you find out the truth, and then you're like, oh wow, this guy's a piece of shit. All right, so
yeah,
I got sorry, I got one more question, and then we'll close it out. I know you're getting ready to focus on your indie
I've still
stuff.
got an hour. I got an hour to get ready, but yeah.
Oh hell yeah! So you talked a little bit about it before, but obviously um, coming out as trans. I mean that's something that I deal with it, anxiety and depression, and a lot of people. I've talked about it a little bit. I talked about it with Cody on his podcast. I mean, Cody's been in that low spot too. I mean, I have too. I mean, it's tough mentally. I mean, what kind of like how does that affect you mentally? Because I can only imagine. I mean, I like I said. I mean, I'm just a regular person that fucking works, 50, 55 hours a week and trying to make ends meet, and being an owner of a semi large series of racing. I mean, what was that like? And again, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But what was that like? I mean, I can only imagine, the what goes through your mind on an everyday basis. I mean, I'm one of those people that I'm very open to. I love anyone and everyone for who they are or for who they want to be. That's something that I just love people in general. But what was that like? What walk through that if you want to. Again, I don't want to put you in a situation where you don't want to talk about something, but I know that that's got to be tough. And I was one of the probably the first people that reached out to you and was like, hey, I support you 100%. You to me, you are one of my closest friends. Throughout all this fake bullshit that we do every 6 nights a week. I mean, just walk us through that. I mean, what is it? And again, like I said, I'm just a normal person. I work, I come home, I eat dinner, I race, I go to bed. But how tough was that to say, hey, here's who I am? Because obviously, like when I first met you, I knew you as Clayton, as Clayton Hardy, and now, you've made that transition to Carmen. And what is that process like? I guess just from my end, I'm curious because I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'll quit talking. But what was that process like? I know it had to be tough.
It is. And there's still times where it is, because like it just because like you come out and say, hey, here's who I am. Like that's kind of just like where it actually like starts.
Mm.
I knew I was trans well before I joined ARCS. I hadn't come out. I wasn't in a position where I could feel safe coming out. I had dealt with it as I joined ARCS in 21. I've longer than ABN's been like around in its current inception. I've been trans. you don't have you need to have the support around you and to feel comfortable to even just make that conversation happen to begin with. It's hard. Like before I came out, it's like, okay, I knew who I am, and obviously you mentioned, everyone knew me as one way, um, and now it's like, okay, and that's where it gets hard, right? And I kind of created my own pressure chamber because ABN that's when ABN started really growing, right? And again, I know in my head, and a couple people behind the scenes knew, well in advance, like, hey, this is who I am. ABN is growing. This is like ABN's looking right at 500 followers, and that feels like ages ago. We're looking right at 500 followers, and ABN looks like it's about to go to the moon. It's a pressure cooker. What do you want people to know you as? At that point, the pressure is as high as it's ever been. And depression at that point is as high as it's ever been, because I'm not happy in any shape or form, right? Because like when I'm commentating, when I'm broadcasting, at that point prior to me coming out, which is, by the way, almost dead on ABN's anniversary, I'm lying to myself for the broadcast, lying to everyone that thinks they know me at that time, because there's a bit of separation there between me and the group, because like how can I interact with the group if I can't be me, right? So that's an interesting conversation. So like now I'm like in like a little island, but now it's like, okay, my job relies on this now, and my passion project relies, like, literally, this is my legacy, relies on this, relies on me saying something before it's too late and I go with it. And I kind of put myself in a corner of where I had to say something or to kind of just go down with the ship. But leading up to that, like, I was the most depressed I had ever been, because I was just kind of holding it in. I was so scared of what people would say, like, and I kind of did it. I kind of took it head on, all in the same day, because I told my family first. Normally, you kind of tell your friends, and you tell everyone outside of your real life circle first, just so you kind of, if something goes bad, you can kind of escape it. I kind of did it backwards, where my family knew first, because like, okay, if it's gonna go bad, then it can't get any worse than my family not accepting me, and they didn't. And I kind of expected it. Like, I was raised in a very major Christian, very devout family. The chance of it going well was very slim to none, and Slim walked out the door.
Yeah.
But I knew that at that point, when I had said it, okay, the worst part's over. ABN, like, as much as I love ABN, it's gonna go wherever I take it. Now the ball's in my court. The hardest part's over. So that night, I was like, hey, I told some of my friends, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I've already done this, that, and the other. Now I've got to go public. If I need you, please be there. And I posted it, and I posted it in ABM, and ABM is the only place I posted it. It immediately, the first 3 people that didn't already know was you, Aiden Norman, and Jeremy Breo. The first 3 people that messaged me at all, and it was all positive. And I think the first dozen or so people that messaged me were all ARCS people, and I didn't say anything publicly in ARCS. Didn't say anything publicly. It just carried over. Everyone got it, and that meant the absolute world to me, because it one showed the community nature, the family nature that you mentioned of ARCS. Like, it literally is like, you're family to us. Like, no matter who you are, like, you're Carmen now, that's who you are to us. Let's go do this. That's big, because obviously not every community is that way. Obviously, like, we're a small little part of a giant hobby. The depression doesn't go away. The relief comes in and kind of numbs it a little bit. But then the struggle kind of kicks in. Okay, it's out now. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's the next step? And it took me forever. I made that announcement in November, all the way back in November 2022. 18 months later, I just, for the first time, got medication to actually medically begin transitioning because it's so difficult to actually get a hold of, especially in state of Ohio, where laws literally just got passed that made it even more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard. That's hard to do. For those that don't know, this is estrogen. That's what it is. So that's that's the difficult part, because like now it's like, okay, the social part of it's I'm taking that on and we're fine. Now it's like, okay, now it's about getting what I want. Like now it's about actually like the physical part of it, and dealing with like the dysmorphia and the dysphoria and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and doing the voice training. Obviously I've been doing voice training, I think, every day for like the last couple of, I think 6 months now. I've been doing voice training every day. And in my line of work, I commentate.
Yeah.
Voice quality matters.
Everyone
So it's
hears
hard.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's hard for me like to ever feel comfortable like using my voice training in broadcast until I'm actually 100% happy with it. Thankfully, I have a work from home job, a desk job where I can practice and work on that stuff with customers that are not anywhere close to me. They don't have to worry about me or whatever. I don't have to worry about that being personal.
Yeah.
That makes it easier. So there's hopefully a point, in the next, year or so, where like the voice training kind of comes through and it pays off, which is part of the reason why I stepped away from the microphone for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to worry about, because that is a huge source of depression now,
Yeah.
is, nothing, like things aren't lining up the way I want them to. It's taking a little bit longer to actually go through some of the processes legally.
Mm-hmm.
So like the challenges are still there. Knowing I've got a community around me that has been so supportive and so like encouraging makes it a lot easier. But the challenge is still there. The depression is still there. There's some days are good, some days are bad.
Mm-hmm.
I can happily say that a lot of the worst days are pretty far in the rearview mirror at this point. But it's not like completely gone. It's never going to be.
Yeah.
Like I have behind me, right here, I have a dog that has been a shining light for me the past year.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a husky. Her name's Artemis. I think we saw a little bit of her when she first came into my room a little bit ago. Her and ABN have gotten me through some really dark times.
Yep.
But things are looking better. They really are. They're looking a lot better. It's just kind of keeping that motivation going. And that's part of where ABN kind of takes over. If I'm doing anything, it's normally for ABN in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
ABN or ARCS or HTL or somebody. I'm doing something to help out. But yeah, like it's the moment that I came out and said it like publicly to everybody, like, because I'm expecting like, okay, this is gonna go over like a fireball. Like this is like
Yeah.
the Hindenburg like 2.0.
Yeah.
Like it's about to be a explosion.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Like I lost
Mm-hmm.
like I think 3 people left the ABN server because of it. And they were people that weren't really in this. They weren't in a part of the community. They were just kind of there,
Yeah.
kind of sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the first indication. Like, okay, I've built my community the right way, at least, that I can say it, and everyone's okay. That means that if other people need to say it, they're also going to be okay. And that's the most important thing to me, is that if people need to say it and they feel comfortable saying it, that they've got a space to. And I've that's one thing I'm very fortunate to have, and it's something that is never lost on me at any point at this point. It just being able to know that it can be the worst day on the planet for me, and I've had some really bad days. I lost my German Shepherd Athena, lost my grandfather. I've been laid off. I've been unemployed. I've gone through the ringer the past year and a half, but ABN's been there, my community's been there, ARCS has been there, HTL, Winstell's been there, and that is by and far, it's worth its weight in gold. It really is. And to everyone that's been a part of that, especially the last couple of years, everyone that's been a part of that, and it's something that I'm still catching up on. Like, I just made a new Facebook for me, because I hadn't used my old Facebook in ages. It's like I had to make a new Facebook and everything. So it's still one of those things. Like, I'm still having to catch up on things slowly but surely, as far as taking my life back over. But if I can do it, then other people can do it, and that's the important thing, because I don't want people to go through that alone. I was told, it definitely showed the night that I came out that I wasn't alone, and that's the most important thing in the world, no matter what. And to everyone that was there for it, and everyone that showed support, and everyone that still does, my gratitude, I'll never be able to actually fully express it as much as I want to. You can't put that in words.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't put myself in your shoes, but it's one of those things that's, that's just a tough thing. Especially with dealing with family. I mean, that's the one thing that, from my end, I know that if I was going through that, I would have the same reaction probably that your family had. It's like, my family would be like, what? And that's tough, because yes, we're family, ARCS and ABN and HTL, all three of us, all three of those series have really worked well together over the past couple years. But still, at the end of the day, yes, we're fake racing family, but your real family is your real family. And to have your real family be like, what the fuck are what are you doing? I've made some dumbass decisions in my life, and my dad has been like, what the fuck are you doing? You're a fucking idiot. But just to go through that, and to have to I personally, I struggle telling my dad stuff. I got a damn speeding ticket one time, and I was like, I don't even want to tell him that I got a speeding ticket, and that's minuscule compared to what you're going through. And so, the fact that you talk to them, I find that, that's awesome that you had the courage to do that, because that's, I would be scared shitless. And, I hate that you didn't get the acceptance that hopefully you feel with me personally. Like I said, I consider you a close friend. We've worked together for damn near 4 years now. And, I've been so happy to be a part of ABN, and now being in the broadcast booth. I've loved every second of it, but I just, I can't imagine, putting myself in your shoes. I wouldn't be able to do it. So, shout out to you for having that courage, and being able to talk to your family, and being able to make that announcement to, a community of, ABN's 400 or 500 people in that Discord. That is a lot of courage, and I commend you for that, because that's something that I personally probably wouldn't be able to do. That's very, very honorable, and the fact that you did it, and like you said, we all have those things in the back of our heads, whether it's, who am I, or I did something wrong, and I don't want to, I don't want to admit to it, but to just go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to just tell everyone who I am, And if they don't like it, so what? But you had support, and that's just that's cool to me. I mean, that's the courage that you had is just awesome, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely it's hard. Again, like I held it in for 3 years, so it's like it definitely wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But like the hardest part, genuinely, the hardest part's over. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a long journey. It's a journey that's never going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's easier than the alternative. Um, and that's kind of part of the reason why when we do ABN's 5th anniversary race, we're doing it to support a mental health charity. Um, because like for everyone that like me that kind of gets to push through it, there's a lot of people that don't get to.
Mm-hmm.
They can't handle it.
Yeah, they end it,
Um,
and that's sad. I mean, because look, like I said, I mean, even me, I deal with anxiety on a daily basis. I deal with depression. Not it's not terrible, but it's there, and that's why like I try and put myself like in your shoes. I mean, again, like I said, I'm just a regular old person. I just, I fucking go to work or come home, and you're dealing with what you're dealing with, and the fact that you can, be strong throughout that is, I mean, like I said, that I'm so proud of you, and so proud of everything that you've built because I would not be able to do it. I'm just I struggle just being a normal person. And here you are just shining as who you are now. And it's really cool to be a part of, honestly.
yeah, I was always raised, be the change in the world you want to see, right? There's I think a lot of work that overall just kind of needs to be done, but you know, like I've got my motivations, I've got the reasons to kind of to keep going, and it genuinely is a day at a time. But those days are a little bit brighter. There's no longer those thunderstorms hanging in your head. At least not all the time. And like I know the like I've got between all of ABN's partners, between ABN itself, like if there's someone I need to reach out to, like I've got them on speed dial, and you know hopefully if anyone's watching this that or anyone that stumbles on this after we finish recording everything that needs that person to talk to, you know my inbox is open. I know there's others that are open in ABN. There's a lot of people that have been through it in one way, shape, or form, and that's especially with Pride Month effectively beginning now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear a lot more of those stories, and my story is different. Everyone's story is going to be different. But everyone, it's again showing the change in the world you want to see, and for me, it's being with leading with compassion is being a big thing, being compassionate, being empathetic, and just sort of I hate saying being a trailblazer because it makes me seem full of myself, but like there's not many people like me right now in our space. There isn't. Um, and that is a weight to bear.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a weight that I'm proud to bear because you look at everyone in the community, just everyone that works for ABN now, like myself, Christina, Amity, Olivia, Taylor, Kat, there's over a dozen people that work for ABN that have been in my shoes that I'm able to thankfully call friends. Um, it's genuinely like I hope people can kind of see what I've been able to do over especially like the last couple of years and understand that they can do it too, and that there are better days on the other side of that tunnel. But it's a very very slow process, but
Mm-hmm.
you know when you have the right people around you, and you have the right communities, and you have the right access to support, genuinely, and I think you can kind of attest to this. Genuinely, you can kind of handle anything. Like, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a slog to get through.
Yep.
But you'll get to the other side. You'll learn, and you'll grow, and you'll get better. And that's, over the past couple years, that's been exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all, we all have to make money. We have to, pay our bills. I mean, regardless, at the end of the day, whatever, I mean, we're all human beings that have to live on this planet, and if we can't all get along, what's the fucking point? I mean, some people are just, I mean, I look, I grew up in Georgia. I mean, the fact that I mean, even my grandfather, I mean, like, was a slightly racist. I mean, it's like, come on, we're all on this planet together. Let's work together, and obviously now with this whole woke generation, and everybody's looking to cancel everybody and cancel this and cancel that. I mean, for me, it's like, come on, let's just all get along. Let's just do what we love, which for us is racing. We love racing. It doesn't matter if it's open wheel, dirt cars, next gen, like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's just the passion that we share, and who cares if one of us is a little different than the other? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. That just, to me, it's just like, we're all human beings. We're trying to live this life. You only have one life. Just live it, and try and enjoy it, and be who you are. And that's what's most important. All the other bullshit politics and all the stuff behind it, like, none of that shit matters. At the end of the day, like, we all go to bed at the end of the night and sleep in a bed, unless it's quiet. I think he's in a cardboard box right now, but I mean, we're all just trying to get 8 hours of sleep and fucking get up and work our jobs that we all hate. And it's just, I mean, sometimes I just feel like the everybody's so, like, divided, and it's just like, what? Why do we have to be that way? But
Yeah, it's not hard to be a good person.
yeah.
Again, be the change you want to be. Uh, the saying I have, say to my phone, I actually, one of my friends got, and sent it to me a couple of days after I came out. Um, you can't make excuses for bad people. You can't put a flower in an asshole and call it a vase.
Yeah.
And that stuck. You can't make excuses for bad people. But it doesn't take any extra effort to be a good person, and be a good example either. So,
Yeah.
that's what I try to do. And obviously, not everyone's perfect, but
Yep.
um, we give a lot of people an opportunity to just come in and have fun, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy a shared hobby. And as long as people continue to feel safe and comfortable and coming in and joining, and being a part of those communities, then that's what matters. That's what, as long, especially, you talk about, how, especially after what happened over the last 48 hours, all the vitriol online on social media. um it's nice to be able to kind of get away from it all, and this is our escape. So, like,
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing. We have an escape, and we're good at what we do. We're good at distracting
Mm-hmm.
people from real life for a little bit, and it's, as you mentioned, it's a family, and I love it.
Absolutely. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, the partnership that me and you have created with ABN and ARCS, and Blake also, with HTL. I mean, that's something I wouldn't trade for anything. So, I I think this might be a record for the longest podcast.
3 hours.
Yeah,
I was just checking the time.
3 hours and almost 3 hours and 5 minutes now. So,
We still didn't touch any of like the really sensitive episodes. Like, what's the favorite like stock car? Like, what's the era of racing? We'll have to do another episode at some point.
Yeah, we absolutely. Yeah. I'm getting to the point where at this point I got to start having some repeat people on the podcast. This is honestly, I've had a lot of great ideas in ARCS. This is my favorite idea I have ever come up with. I have had so much fun because some people come on like my cousin Cody. I've known Cody since he was born. You know, I'm 3 or 4 years older than him. I've known him. We grew up together. That podcast was awesome, but some people I don't know that well, like John Hagen. I don't know John Hagen. I've raced with him, but I've never talked to him. But even you, like, yes, I know you, but like I've never really sat down with you for 3 hours and just talked about just everything.
It's never been that one-on-one, yeah.
Yeah, the one-on-one is just so special, and it's something that I have enjoyed. I mean, the fact that we've already done 20 episodes it's just so cool. Like I love it. And I guess Prophet finally woke up. He's now in the chat, so
everyone's waking up really. I thought everyone's waking up in time for me to get ready to run Indy in like 45 minutes because that's great.
Exactly. Like y'all can stay up and watch Carmen run the Indy race. What did Prophet say? Winner of tomorrow's race on the podcast next week as they try to double up at Indy.
Yeah, because SNS's regular season finale is tomorrow night, I believe.
Talladega.
I think so. Yeah, Talladega, so, yeah. And then Indy's after that. Yeah,
$100 to the winner. So I'm gonna wreck some motherfuckers tomorrow night at Talladega. Y'all can guarantee that.
I need to see if I can get Christina or somebody to jump in, so I can jump in for a race and
there you go.
Wreck some shit.
There you go.
Get all the stars out for a little bit.
That sounds like a perfect idea.
I know. I also need to respond to Tommy because Tommy sent me like the graphics for everything tomorrow. Because I like he sent me that while I was at work this morning, and I was like, cool, I got it. And then I was working, so I never answered. So
yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I must see if I can find someone so I can come in and run a race in that Gen 6, and because that's the car I started racing stock cars in. Because
Gen 6 is awesome.
Because when I jumped in iRacing, I did the entire open wheel route, and I skipped all of the stock cars until I got to A. I just skipped it all. So that was funny. We'll have to do another episode here. My birthday, funnily, is like June 20th. So like June 21st is the episode after that. So let's see if we can plan that one out.
That would be great for sure. I think I got Bryn Roberts next week, and then after that the schedule's kind of open. So I got to find some other guests to get on the podcast. But so who's your because I gotta pee again. These White Claws are going right through me. And I know, luckily, I don't have anything to do, and you got another 40 minutes, so I'm not rushing this. But who do you think's gonna win SNS at Talladega on Saturday? And I'm gonna go pee while you talk about that.
Very good question. There's a lot of interesting picks there because I mean it's the Gen 6. It's hard. It's a good car to race on the plates. I think some people still prefer the Gen 6 over the Gen 7 on the plates. It's hard to bet against someone. I mean, it's hard to bet against someone like like Hagen. Hagen's really good. Ryan Pennell. Obviously, he just went to use the bathroom. I think he's good on the plates. Really good on the plates. I'm just checking the chat. Hagen, Ryan has a chance to really do something funny. Trying to think everyone who's actually been Lilac Zier. I think it's a really good dark horse. Lilac Zier is really good on plate tracks, but she's usually a pusher, not a leader. So we'll see if she leads any for Saturday night's race. So Zier, Ryan Pennell, John Hagen, trying to think who else is there. Withers, I think's got a good chance at a really good result. Try needs to stop getting involved in Rex to have a chance, but he's got a shot. It's a pretty wide open race because it is the Gen 6 and it is such a refined car throughout the years, and it's such a really good car on the plates. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna pick a dud choice. I'm gonna pick. I think Toby's gonna get 3 in a row. I think Toby has a chance to get 3 in a row. No one's done that yet except for Aiden Norman a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
I think Toby is in his element. He's got the last 2. He won Atlanta. And then when he won North Wilkesboro. So I think that he's got the team element because he's got Noah Belleville there. I think that Toby's probably the favorite still based on momentum. Belleville has terrible luck at plates, but he's also locked in, so I don't think he's pushing that hard. I think it's Toby, Hagen, Ryan. I think you've got a really good chance because you usually find yourself at the front of those no matter what.
Yep.
Hell, you schooled my ass at Daytona and HTL Cup until everyone got disqualified. Honestly, it depends because we're gonna have more people there tomorrow night than we've had most of the season.
Yeah.
So there's some wild cards that I haven't seen in a while because I've been not available on Sundays. I've been doing Winston on Sundays, or people that just they haven't raced there full time, and they've come from TNT or whatever. So that's gonna be the fun part. But I think of the people that I know, Toby's a safe bet. John Hagen I think is a really good bet as well because he was really good in the Gen 6s when HTL ran it. You've got a good chance because anything that's a restrictor plate you're gonna run good at. Yeah. I think if I wanted to put money on a dark horse, I'd put Withers.
Yeah.
Withers, I think Withers' luck on, especially luck on plate tracks, has improved a lot. And honestly, it'd be cool seeing a feel good win. Like the cutoff races for like the regular season have produced some amazing feel good moments the last few times it's happened. Like Sear won at Daytona for the Firecracker for HTL last season. Withers winning at Vegas was really, really cool. That was last year for A Squared.
Fun fact: Withers actually won the Talladega race last night in TNT, and
that's fantastic.
And guess who finished second? Me.
See, not bad choices.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, it's gonna be cool. Like, if you win, it's gonna be awesome because like I don't think you've won in any of like the top major series that at least since I've been here.
Sorry, high octane, not TNT. My bad. Profit set me straight, but yeah.
No, like Feimster's another one that could be a dark horse. He's had probably some of the worst luck on plate tracks ever.
Yeah.
But like, it's Talladega. Everyone's got a chance until you don't.
Yeah.
And everyone's racing for $100, so everyone's gonna lose their shit. That's gonna make it fun. That's gonna be fun to watch. But yeah, I think Toby, John Hagen, if he races, I don't know if he's racing or not. Yeah, could be very well wrong. Yeah. I think you've got a really good chance. I would put if I was running like a parlay, it'd be Toby, you, and Withers as like the third leg of the parlay. Those are my picks. It's gonna be fun. It's Gen 6 on a plate track. Like Winstall did it for their season opener or their yearly opener in January at Daytona, and it was one of the most. I answered the question wrong when someone asked the question, "What was my favorite race to broadcast?" That Winstall 400 in January. But it was me, Joe Cortez, and Christina Ryan in commentary, and we just rolled out the TNT overlay. That is the best.
Yeah.
Like that is as far as like what I've been involved in, that is the absolute best. As far as like top to bottom coverage, magnificent. That's actually take the cake. If anyone haven't watched that, go back and watch it. There's a bunch of people, a bunch of eNASCAR veterans and everything in there, and we just rocked it for 3 hours. So go back and watch that if you haven't. It's on ABN's YouTube. All the SNS races I think are going up on YouTube this weekend as well because I've been trying to catch up on all the YouTube archives.
Yep.
So I've been working on that.
That's one question I have. When will ABN be going live on YouTube? Is that something that's in the works? Because the only reason I ask is because, like, for example, my dad does not have Twitch. He doesn't know what Twitch is. He has no fucking. You say Twitch, and he's like, "I'm not twitching. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But he has YouTube because he watches YouTube videos. Is that something that's in the works?
It is. There's going to be a couple of announcements about that. We were initially going to test it for the HTL Trucks race at Homestead on Tuesday. That's been pushed back because I forgot about it. How it goes. But no, there's actually supposed to be a series or two that's supposed to be moving to YouTube full time this summer. Haven't disclosed those plans just yet. But yeah, the plan is, we have 2 Twitch channels that we want to keep content for, but YouTube's a really good platform. It also makes life a little bit easier for me, not having to archive things immediately after the races.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be announcements on that, I think, coming up here. We're June 1st now, so it's about time for some of the announcements to kind of come through. Yeah, you're gonna see a couple series move to YouTube. I don't think it's gonna be HDL, not immediately. But we'll move a series over. We'll move one of ABN series over, and we'll kind of experiment. I think I'll have to get with Tommy and try and kind of see if they want to do YouTube and see if it works for them Saturday nights for season 8. And I kind of see. I know there's at least one series that's going to be doing it here very soon, and that announcement's coming on the. Let me double check. 13th? Yeah, 12th. June 12th.
Got you. Yeah, because I know that's a big thing. Like, obviously when, like, even this podcast right now, it's live on YouTube right now. So, a lot of older people like my dad and a lot of our, parents or family members, when you send them a Twitch link, they're like, nah, I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know what Twitch is. But you send them a YouTube link and they're like, oh yeah, I watch YouTube. I watched somebody change a brake pad last night on YouTube. So I think it's cool to have YouTube as a option, as a live, and then because like for my stuff that I do, like for the podcast, after it's finished, I can put it into like a channel, just like how ABN has their archives. I put mine in a channel so everybody can go to Behind the Driver podcast and they can look at from episode 1 to episode 20. They can view it anytime they want to. So it's kind of cool to have that, but there's a lot of work behind the scenes that has to happen to make that a real thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like the ABN, because when we started with Twitch because like it was easier to monetize. Like the monetization level was a lot lower. Still is. Because that does matter. But like I've had a chance now to kind of see like, okay, what series makes sense for us to run on Twitch still? Like what series are we realistically making money off of on Twitch? Mm-hmm. That's why SNS kind of came up, because SNS is a series that a lot of people race in, not as many people watch.
Yep.
But that's YouTube's a bigger platform. Maybe that changes.
Yep.
Like that's like it's like the only series that went to like ARCS in general went from ABN 1 to ABN 2 and increased the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to a smaller channel. Now, what if they move to YouTube, where it's maybe not as large? We have more YouTube subscribers than we do ABN 2 followers.
Yeah. What
if we move SNS to, because like A Squared we've already kind of got figured out for this year. Mm-hmm. But if SNS takes off, like because SNS I think safe to say like the lowest viewership right now average of everyone, but it makes sense because it's Saturday evenings, right? Mm-hmm. Like everyone's out partying, everything. Like it's easy to say that. And SNS season 7 has the most like instant classics of any series we've ever broadcasted.
Yeah.
They've done 9 races, 4 of them are instant classics.
Yep.
They had the only almost caution-free race at Martinsville we've ever seen. Like studs are in SNS.
Yeah.
Moving them to YouTube for season 8 could be like, okay, well let's look to see what the numbers look like, and if A Square likes it, then, or we're still talking about potentially broadcasting ARCS or High Octane still on the table. Different series are up there for grabs. We can look at SNS and be like, okay, is YouTube the option? If it is, then we'll have a season of data to kind of look at it. But I'll have to get with Try and Tommy probably at some point tomorrow or Sunday, and actually just kind of go over that and see what the numbers look like, because yeah, we want to. I know there's one series that we know for a fact is going to be on YouTube for ABN, maybe two, and we're gonna grow from there. But yeah, the idea is that as ABN grows, we're gonna want to use all of our platforms. Like, we're gonna want to be
Yeah.
live on everything we can.
Absolutely.
So Twitch helped get us to where we are. YouTube, I think, is definitely a big part of getting us further. So
Yep.
yeah, kind of keep an eye on ABN social medias, because I know one announcement's on Wednesday, May 12th. So and read between the lines, you know it's on Wednesday. So
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the plan, that's the goal, and yeah, that's the thing. We're still learning, we're still
Yeah.
evolving after 5 years, and that's the fun part. So
Well, I know,
I'm
like,
up for the challenge.
I know from my point of view, because like obviously I have an ARCS Racing Network's YouTube channel as well, that that all of my broadcasts and podcasts and everything go to. But the thing with YouTube is, as far as monetary, you have to have 500 subscribers or you don't get jack shit. You don't get nothing. Yeah. So to reach that 500 subscribers is very tough, because like for me, for my channel, for ARCS Racing Networks, I think we're sitting like 115 subscribers on YouTube. So I got to find 400 more subscribers, or YouTube is basically just where someone can go to watch our races. We're not making any money off of it. As far as Twitch goes, we're making, we're not making a lot of money, but we're making a little bit of money here from ads and viewership and stuff like that. So Twitch is giving us a little bit of money from my end as the owner of ARCS Racing Networks, but YouTube is not doing shit because I don't have the number. Yeah, I don't have those subscribers. You got to get to 500, and then they'll start paying. Start paying you out for ads and for viewers and views on videos. So it is like you have to kind of figure out, okay, what do I either do, Twitch or do I do YouTube, or do I do both and just hope that my subscribers go up? Because honestly, I gained my most subscribers by my NCAA 2014 season that I did with the Georgia Bulldogs. I have a video of that has like almost 10,000 views, and I'm like, damn, maybe I should be doing this, like, but my channel is called ARCS Racing Network, so why am I streaming football games, but I get 10,000 views? So like, what?
And that's the fun thing, because like ABN, like our YouTube channel is just Aero Broadcast Network, like it's not ABN Esports so much.
Yeah.
They kind of walk through with ABN's YouTube channel. We have 250 YouTube subscribers, and we've not been live on that channel once.
Mm-hmm.
Like the market's 100% like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why it's like, oh, we're not too far. Like if we wanted to push it, like in a year, we'd be there. Yeah. It's just the hard conversation of, do we want to be there, and what do we want? What do we want to risk? Right. But it's easier to play with house money to get things started. So that's sort of the direction we're going to kind of start to begin with. And we get to compare the numbers. That's the kind of the fun thing about having 3 channels now, is that we know what ARCS does in ABN 2. ARCS went from ABN 1 to ABN 2 and did better. Yeah. HGL continues to do well on ABN 1. Mm-hmm. Winsdale does pretty decent on ABN 1 for how short the races are. Okay, well, let's try a third different option here and compare and see what direction we want to go in. What matters, and I'm a data nerd, so it's going to be very interesting to me. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's all a numbers game. But, and again, with YouTube being important, like I talked about, wanting to do non-racing stuff. YouTube's going to be the only place that really can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because our Twitch stuff is built for esports stuff. So.
Yeah, it's one of those fine lines where it's like, okay, if I do this on Twitch or if I do it on YouTube, what's the better option? You know, what helps.
What's the audience we're trying to get to here?
Exactly. Like, because I know, like, for any race that I run in, if there's a broadcast, now that I have a little bit better internet being in Michigan, I have the broadcast up on my second screen behind, I'm not watching it, but I have it up. And, for any driver that's watching, if you have the ability to bring that broadcast up in the background, please do it, because it does help. I mean, having 20 viewers versus 40 viewers, that's a huge difference in not only monetary, but stats of because I'm the same way. I'm a nerd. I love stats. I keep up with stats with this podcast because I want to see what episode did the best, what episode struggled, and I can go back and look at it and say, okay, was that on me, or was that on the questions that I asked, or was it just no one knew, or sometimes we have these podcasts obviously on Friday nights. Was the truck series running, so nobody was watching the podcast, but they were watching the truck series, and then you have people that don't necessarily want to watch it live, but they go to work on Monday morning and they listen to the podcast as they're, walking the floor or working their machine or whatever. And that counts too. Like, even the after views, count and make a difference. So it's crazy how it's just a fine line of being like, okay, where do I put this, and how does it help, ABN or ARCS or HTL? It's kind of a fine line for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot. And again, this is one of the things. Like, I'm gonna have to be on this podcast again because I'm gonna be like June 21st. Like, I think that's the Friday after my birthday. Yeah, it's Friday after my birthday. That'll be after the announcement goes live of what's going on YouTube. So we can kind of break down, that conversation, like what's the decision there, and make that and kind of walk through that, because we kind of touched over like inspiration and motivation for what does ABN, but it's a lot of conversation like, okay, what does it take to actually run ABN, right? Like, how do you mobilize ABN to do what it does? And that's a completely different conversation too. So, we'll have to do again. That's my birthday is on the 20th, so I may be a little bit hungover, but
I'm always hungover, so
can't be hungover if you don't stop drinking.
Exactly. But, I mean, the fact that it's, what is it? Almost 1 a.m. Eastern time, and we still have 8 viewers right now is
wild.
Pretty damn impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
I never thought I was that entertaining, but
hey,
people, I guess, in fairness, this is the first time people have actually been able to like see and hear me like on a personal level, because it's always been commentator or producer.
Yep.
It's always been business.
Yep.
And now it's not.
Yeah. And that's what, that's what's so cool about this podcast is like a lot of people have never even seen some of the people that have been on this podcast, like John Hagen. I had no idea what John Hagen even looked like until he turned his camera on, and I was like, okay, now I know what John Hagen looks like. I have seen you before, obviously, because we've been, on Discord late at night, hanging out, partying, drinking, whatever. And, so I've seen you before, but some of these people that get on my podcast, I talk about this, I think every episode, where I'm like, I always get nervous because I feel like I'm going to ask 2 questions, and, it will be 15 minutes into the podcast, and I'm going to be like, all right, well, that's all I got. All right. Thanks for coming out, and, but I will say this is the one where I was like, I know that this podcast is going to be great, and we're at 3.5 hours now. So we definitely,
but we're still talking like, okay, there's a second episode we can kind of milk this out for. So
there's a second episode we can go for another 1.5 hours.
Yeah. Easy.
I've had a blast, but I know you got some stuff. You got your Indy race you're getting ready for.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it loaded up. They've right now for a 1 a.m. split. We've got 477 signed up, and Lily had just opened. There's gonna be over 1,000 people
That's
for this 1 a.m. race.
That is wild.
I've not heard. I heard there was rumblings of us possibly doing 3 wide starts for the official Indy 500. I don't know if that's the case because I don't think they've ever set it up. But I heard people talking about it because Greg West was in one of my lobbies doing officials. We were doing the small 50-lap races. He was in a couple of the officials I was doing Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an instant conversation. So I'll have to I'm going to learn a lot about how this race goes because this is my first 500 as a driver since 2020. So for those that are interested and those that are not going to be going to bed anytime soon or those that just woke up, we will be live on ABN1 on Twitch. Again, I don't expect a lot of people to show up because it's going to be late at night and who knows how long the race goes. But we're going to give it a shot. Again, I was at Indy last weekend. Best experience on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get to try to drive around where I was spotting because I was in turn 3 in the infield. So I watched when Catherine Legg's engine exploded. I watched when Newgarden made his pass on Pato for the last lap. I got to see all that up close and personal. So we get to try to do something that I've not done before, and that's win an Indy 500.
That's awesome. Well, good luck, and for those of y'all that are watching, when ABN1 goes live, tune in, see if she can win a fake Indy 500, but it's real to us. So y'all don't come at us with that.
I don't have $7 million to spend on actual IndyCar rides, so this is as real as it's going to get.
Yeah, this is the best we can do. All right, this is all we got.
If everyone subscribes to, if all the 3,000 people that watch ABN every month subscribe to ABN1, I might be able to afford an IndyCar ride in 2 years.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
I say that too. I'm sitting. ARCS Racing Networks is sitting at 308 followers, and that's wild to me because other than this podcast, I don't do shit on this channel. So the fact that we have 300 followers is crazy to me. So take the little victories when you can get them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And that's the thing. I'm at the point now where it's just having fun.
Yep.
And it doesn't get a lot more fun than staying up late at night after a work week and just kind of throw in a car at 235 miles an hour into turn 1. And if it sticks, it sticks.
If it doesn't, hey, who cares?
There's another race at 5 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. You can join the next, take you a little nap, and just get ready to join the next session.
Bingo.
Well, thank you so much, Carmen, for being on the podcast. I had a blast. We'll definitely have to have a second episode. I mean, here we are 3.5 hours in, and I feel like I could talk to you for another 2.5 hours. So we'll definitely have to have another episode here. But thank you for being a part of it. And just thank you for everything you do for ARCS. I mean, you're a huge part of ARCS, and I appreciate you and your entire team. So thank you for everything you do for us as a community, and appreciate you being on this podcast tonight.
I appreciate you letting me on. First time I've not been a host of a podcast, but a guest. So I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll definitely we'll have another podcast here very soon.
Absolutely. So I'll let you exit out, and I'll close this thing out. But thank you so much, and look forward to talking to you again, hopefully here pretty soon.
Hopefully tomorrow after you win at Talladega.
Woo! Yeah, we'll see.
Take care.
All right, thank you. All right, that was Carmen Sienna. We went a little past our hour mark. We're at 3 hours and 33 minutes, but that was honestly probably one of the best podcasts. I say that every week, and that's just shows that we're doing the right things over here at ARCS Behind the Driver. One of my favorite podcasts to date, and thank y'all for being a part of it. Thank y'all for being in the chat. This isn't possible without y'all watching. So thank y'all. And next week we'll have Bryn Roberts on for Friday night at 9 p.m. We'll see if we can break this record of 3.5 hours. This is definitely the longest podcast we have done to date, but it was definitely a damn good podcast. So thank y'all for tuning in. Again, we'll be with Bryn Roberts next Friday. This upcoming Tuesday, I'll be in the booth with the HTL Hammer Down Truck Series over on ABN1. So make sure y'all tune into that as well. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in. And if you listen later on in the week, thank y'all for listening. But that's going to do it for me here for episode 20. We'll have episode 21 next week, next Friday night. If you want to be on this podcast, just shoot me a message on Discord. Let me know. I'll get you in. Would love to talk to anybody that has not been on the podcast. And we can also do some repeat episodes coming up. So thank you all again for tuning in. It really does mean a lot. We will see y'all Tuesday with HTL and back here Friday night with Bryn Roberts. Thank y'all for tuning in.